Yep, we're finally. For a second, I lost my words there, but yeah, we're finally live, and Soumi is just back in time there on her seat. It is the time for WPL. It is the time for in the Indian T20 summer. To be honest, really excited. A lot of you guys already know that I am a big fan of T20. I'm a big fan of Indian T20s, all the franchise cricket, everything that happens around the sun. We've got Neha Shetty, of course. We've got Soumi Sarkar. How are you, peeps, doing? It's been more than a month since the three of us have been together, since we've seen some women's cricketing action. Both of you excited? Neha, let's start with you there.
Yes, it's almost a month. We haven't, spoken live like this. So yeah, excited. And Women's Premier League starts in less than 3 days. There's just so much to look forward to. And I hope through these preview shows we can give our subscribers also something to take away. So yeah, looking forward to the same.
Yeah, not a lot of them are doing previews. So, for that matter, please do make sure, you're hitting the like button and make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. We will be providing you top-notch content. You don't have to worry about that. We'll be going in depth about each and every team out there. It'll be Delhi, Gujarat, and Mumbai, of course, like the thumbnail and the title suggests. Show me, what about you? Excited for the tournament?
Exactly. Way too excited because of the fact that last year I have missed quite a few matches. I was in the process of relocation, so on and so forth. But this year it will be a lot of concentrated watching of WPL, a tournament that we all have been waiting for and asking for from to every nook and corner of the world to start. So yeah, a second year of that. Really looking forward to how the tournament really shapes up, because last year was all about seeding. This year is all about growth. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point Shomi makes there. And again, in terms of WPL, I guess my biases, of course, will be there. And it just makes me more hopeful because, yeah, the RCB side here is a lot more stronger. So at least thoda reason to dete ki bhai support kar lete, jeet sakte. Men's ke side mein to wo bhi nahi hai filhal. Anyways, lot of things to talk about. Neha, let's start with, of course, Delhi Capitals. Again, no discernible order. We've just gone alphabetically to keep it simple. Delhi Capitals were finalists last year. In fact, they ended the league stage, ranked 1, which a lot of people don't remember. Let's start with the squad. At the auction, they were fairly quiet. Just a couple of buys from what I remember, 3 to be precise. There was Annabelle Sutherland, there was Ashwini Kumari, there was Aparna Mondal. So 3 A's for that matter. Just realized that as well. But if you look at the depth chart, again, all bases covered. You don't need to worry much about, when it comes to their batting. When top orders seem settled, and it would be very surprising to sort of see any changes from last year. Neha, you can sort of walk us through the options they have, when it comes to their batting there.
Right. So, now looking at Delhi Capitals, of course, given that perfect start that they were the finalists last season, they could not get past that final frontier. Looking at the season as well, they started off well, giving that drubbing to RCB. I say this with a tear in my eye. But in all fairness, they were like the most perfect side, right? They could do almost no wrong, barring those couple of losses en route to the playoffs, and they kind of, deservingly made it to the finals. Even when you look at their batting here, the display on the screen right now, I think Meg Lanning is going to be that important sort of a batter there, because she was the season's highest run getter last time around, and this time you see how there's of course Shefali Verma. The middle order looks quite formidable. You have the likes of Alice Capsey, who has been making the right noises. A couple of off seasons would definitely not deter her, and the inclusion of Annabelle Sutherland is also like quite massive in that sense. And even Jemima Rodriguez, I think something that we've been discussing off record as well, right? I think for her this will be like a big defining moment in her career as well, because she's been doing well in ODIs, but in T20 she's kind of been a pale shadow, right, of what we usually expect. So I think when we look at that batting, it looks more or less settled, because with the likes of Meg Lanning and Shefali opening, there is a lot of like confidence, right, you can impose on this duo. So I think them giving that crucial start will kind of dictate how the rest of the innings also kind of spells out. And even with Marizan Cap right now, she's one of your quality all-rounders and has always delivered. Again, she did not have the best of the WBBLs, and even in that Australia series we did see her come in and out. But all in all, I think it still looks like a very formidable batting unit. Yeah.
Interesting. Of course, we'll all be giving our opinions. There's a lot of analysis to be done. Shumi, let's talk a bit about the bowling as well, because again, let me just have that graphic on there. In terms of bowling, in terms of options, again, it doesn't seem like they have any dearth of options there, right?
Exactly. I think that's where even when I'm looking at the Delhi squad and comparing it with the rest of the squad, rest of the other team squads, which we will of course talk about when we come to them. I think Delhi looks the most, well-rounded team. They have literally have bigger names as well as people that they can bank upon in almost in every, in every of those quarters. So, especially looking at the bowling, they definitely have Marizan Kaap. They have Titash Sadhu, who has been like quite a name that is coming up in Indian cricket. They have the experience of Shikha Pandey. They have Annabel Sutherland. What more could you have asked for? So, literally, I mean, with respect to the pace bowling unit as well as the different types of spinners that showcase in the squad, I think they look quite a well-rounded squad to compare to any other squad that we are seeing in WPL.
Almost spoke there on mute, but definitely on paper they look like a very formidable side there because in terms of options, of course, like both of you mentioned, they've got options of plenty. Shikha Pandey, of course, will be, she also has that, India cap, on her sort of horizon. She wants to sort of get to that. She's spoken about this as well, and it'll be very interesting to see how DC make use of her. They've got a couple of these players, not just Shikha Pandey. There's Arundhati Reddy, there's Poonam Yadav, all of them sort of vying for a spot. We'll be talking about this again. Spinners, they have multiple options. Paces also, it seems to be a very settled pace attack, so to say. I mean, if you talk about Marizan Kaap, there's Annabel Sutherland, there's Shikha Pandey, Arundhati Reddy, so many names, Sita Sadhu, of course. Annabel Sutherland will definitely be a name I'd be sort of keeping a keen eye on because last year she did not have the greatest of tournaments. Every time I think of Annabel Sutherland in season one, my mind goes back to that Gujarat UP game where Grace Harris unfortunately sort of got into her and just kept smashing her for sixes and fours left, right, and center. Not the greatest of seasons, but she definitely seems to have turned a new leaf, not just with the ball, but with the bat. The Ashes century, the double century recently, and then, of course, who can forget the India T20s that happened here? Those Yorkers and the consistency with which she was being able to deliver them. Of course, she will be coming into the tournament with a lot of confidence. Before we talk about the team as well, let's have a look at the schedule. Like most other teams, of course, it's equally divided. They'll be playing their first four games in Bangalore and the next four at their home venue. So the one of the two teams, RCB being the other, would be playing at their home. So Bangalore first four games against each of the four teams, and then Delhi the next four games once again with each of the four teams. So fairly balanced schedule that way. I mean, you can't really say it's in their favor or against them because they play each of the teams in at both the venues. So that sort of eliminates the venue factor, so to say, and you wouldn't really want to use this as an excuse, at least for them. Speaking about analysis now, of course, let's move on to the next graphic and the most important one. Neha, let's start with you in terms of strengths and what we've spoken about right now. You can just walk us through it and explain why Delhi seems such a strong side right now.
Definitely. I mean, we've spoken so highly of Delhi so far, but looking at the strengths, right, for me, it definitely has to be Meg Lanning's captaincy herself. Now, she is an experienced campaigner, having led Australia for so many years. And I feel her retirement, she doesn't like to use that word, has still, kind of taken off a huge weight from her shoulders, right? So, in that sense, I feel more confident that, her coming into the Women's Premier League fresh, having played a couple of domestic games is a massive, massive boost to that, Delhi side. And even we've discussed the experienced foreign picks who kind of just make themselves present in that playing 11, so they won't have that problems of abundance or who do we choose, who do we exclude sort of a situation. And I think it's a fine mix of like international and Indian players as well. And one of the things that's going to really augur well for them is how their overseas players are in form, right? Annabel Sutherland, perfect by again, questions on why Gujarat let go of her, but Delhi really got her and sealed her, which is going to be a big boost to them. So I think even having these overseas players in form will definitely do them a world of good, because there are Indian players in the team, but it's of course the international players who will have to kind of lead from the front and pave the way in that sense. And also the batting depth, right? That's something that we've been reflecting on. Like, you see, there are good batting options right from one to almost four or five. Like the finisher spot and the wicketkeeper one can be a cause for concern. I think the weaknesses, you will dwell on it a little later. But then I still feel their top four gives us that sort of a confidence, right? That hey, they will deliver. And in that sense, yeah, they do pack a punch with these interesting players.
100%. And again, speaking of batting depth, of course, there are a couple of comments coming there कि हिंदी में बात करो. We will try our best यार, but हिंदी में इतने fluent नहीं है, तो इसीलिए हम लोग ज्यादातर इंग्लिश में बात करना prefer करते हैं. But again, अगर आप कह रहे हो तो we will definitely try. जितना हो सकता है हिंदी में बात करने की कोशिश जरूर करेंगे. But yeah, Neha, you spoke about batting depth there. अगर हम इनका एक 11 अगर बनाते हैं अपने दिमाग में, there's Tita Sadhu coming in at number 11, man. That reminds me of the CSK side that used to play Shardul and Deepak at number 10, number 11. मतलब इतने सारे batting options हैं इनके पास. I mean, to say that they have good batting depth would be an understatement because this is just crazy. And especially when you take into consideration that they'll be playing 4 of their games at the Chinnaswamy, it sort of gives their top order the license to just go after bowlers. कि boss, बिंदास खेलो, wickets की फिक्र मत करो, आपके पास batters हैं, अपने पास batting है, आप बस खेलो आराम से. And that's sort of what Shefali thrives in. That's the sort of platform, that's the sort of environment she prefers, where उसको ज़्यादा बोला ना जाए, उसको सीधा बस ये दिया जाए, इसको बस इतना पता चले कि बॉस आराम से खेल लो, बिंदास खेलो, टेंशन मत लो. But again, since we are talking about batting depth and of course their overseas players being informed, there's Marizan Cup. उसके लिए फॉर्म मतलब I wouldn't look too much अगर वो फॉर्म में ना भी होती या होती, फर्क नहीं पड़ता. बॉस, शी इज अ क्लास प्लेयर थ्रू एंड थ्रू. हमने देखा लास्ट ईयर क्या सीजन था उनका, स्पेशली विद द बॉल. ओ माय गुडनेस, लाइक डर लगता था उनके वो स्विंगर से. एंड ऑफ कोर्स शी वाज आल्सो द सेकंड प्लेयर टू गेट अ फाइफर इन WPL हिस्ट्री. सो अगेन you never know how good she will be once again. Not to forget, number 3 पे खेलते हैं उनके लिए with the bat, so she's going to be a very important cog in the wheel for them as well. So again, we have to wait and watch how it goes, but I'm fairly confident that she will do well. Annabelle Sutherland, Neha mentioned that it is a very good buy, and of course there are a lot of questions now being raised in hindsight कि boss गुजरात ने क्यों छोड़ा ये सब. I know hindsight is the best teacher, and it's very easy to now sort of diss on Gujarat, but I would cut them some slack because again she did not have the greatest of seasons for them, and till the WPL auction I don't think उन्होंने बॉल के साथ भी उतना कुछ किया था. Of course she'd been good with the bat. We'd seen that Ashistan, we'd seen a bit of a batting exploits at the BBL as well, the WPBL that is, but बॉल के साथ हमने शायद उतना नहीं देखा था for Gujarat to warrant retention. But unfortunately, the India series happened a month too late. शायद अगर वो पहले हुआ होता, then maybe they might have sort of thought of retaining her. I'm pretty sure Gujarat would be killing to have an Annabelle Sutherland right now in this squad. Not to be the case. But Soumi, again, going back to that SWOT graphic we had, let's talk a bit about the weaknesses because काफी तारीफ कर ली हमने, but of course no side is perfect. We will have to sort of talk about the glass half empty side of it as well. उनके अगर weaknesses के बारे में बात करें तो what do you make of that?
आई थिंक ऐसे तो टीम काफी स्ट्रांग है, थोड़ा हमें मैग्नीफाइंग लेंस देकर ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि वीकनेसेस क्या है. इन टर्म्स ऑफ द विकेट कीपिंग ऑप्शंस, दो वी लुक एट इट एज अ वीकनेस, बट तानिया भाटिया, यार, आई मीन नाउ आई नो दैट शी डजंट होल्ड बैक दैट इंडिया पोजीशन सो स्ट्रांगली एनीमोर, बट एट द सेम टाइम शी इज क्वाइट अ गुड विकेट कीपर. बट या, आई थिंक इट्स जस्ट फ्रॉम द फैक्ट दैट शी इज नॉट द फर्स्ट चॉइस फॉर द इंडियन टीम एट द मोमेंट. दैट्स व्हाई इट्स बिकमिंग अ लैक ऑफ it's looking like a lack there. They have also bought back Aparna, right? Yeah. So I think they do have a couple of options. Are they the best? And considering that this will be their middle order, whether the batting can come along really well is something that needs to be answered. But if we have to really look at something from a point of scope of improvement, this would have been one space of it. Again, with respect to the middle order batting, there definitely is a lot of dependence on their overseas players. Annabelle Sutherland definitely being one of the hottest topics that we are all already discussing. But I think that from the point of view of the fact that they really have a very strong top order, if that top order kind of fires up, and unless it becomes like a final like situation last year, I think they will be able to cover up those bases.
Definitely. And again, talking about the options, the kind of options they have, you need to mention middle order हमने इसीलिए भी कहा because again, if you look at the kind of batters they have, throughout the middle order, be it Marizan Kaap, Jenny, Jess Jonathan, Annabelle Sutherland probably is an exception, but you can also add Tanya Bhatia and Radha Yadav to that list. All of them are slow starters. They don't exactly have the greatest of strike rates. And this could be a huge cause for concern because last year they had a certain Alice Capsey in that middle order. And she was definitely a huge differential for them, not just with the bat, even with the ball. She also offered those couple of overs, with the new ball as well. So that's definitely going to be a huge shift for them because जेमी के बारे में तो हमने काफी बात किया था इवन ड्यूरिंग द इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया सीरीज की T20 गेम उनका जो है she will have to sort of improve that because she's been a phenomenal ODI player. In fact, she was also the ODI cricketer of the year last year. But when it comes to T20 eyes or T20s in general, her strike rate has been a cause for concern. While she can easily rotate strike, जब बात होती है, I mean, जब बात boundaries मारने की आ जाती है, तो that's why she sort of tends to, falter a bit. Neha, again, do you agree with that point though, in terms of the middle order, especially because again, Karp has a sub 100 strike rate in T20 eyes, so does Jess, so does Jemmy. Annabelle Sutherland is the only option they have, so to say, in the middle order who can go bang bang from the get go. And again, you can't possibly expect her to come good for them day in day out. Given this, do you think that could be a bit of a worry for them?
I agree, Akshay. It could be a concern, and also kind of reiterating on this point you brought in earlier of having a good batting depth. I think in T20 sides, more than the batting depth, having like a lot of these attacking batters and this finisher is of paramount importance. Now, when you look at Delhi's playing 11, right, it's likely that they're going to have Madison Cup, Jemima Rodriguez, then Annabelle Sutherland, Tanya Bhatia, kind of, constitute that middle order. But that kind of, again, brings a point of them being very unidimensional, taking time to settle in and, get those big scores. Then again, Delhi will have to largely rely on, Meg Lanning and Shefali Verma to give you those powerful starts. Because if the middle order doesn't get going, then, you need to have this base and platform set. And agreed, you have Jess Jonathan, Radha Yadav and Shikha Pandey who will probably, slot themselves in later. But again, are they the kind of finishers that Delhi wants? So in a case of, early wickets getting lost, so can they come and salvage the situation? I think that will be a concern. Although there is batting depth, but if you're looking to win T20 games in situations where you're chasing totals in excess of like 150, 160, will everyone be able to stand up and deliver if the openers don't? Is, I think, going to be quite interesting to see.
Definitely. And also, before we sort of move further, guys, please make sure you're hitting the like button if you haven't already, and also please keep your comments coming in. We will take them as and when we finish our analysis as well. एक flow होता है just to ensure कि वो flow बिगड़ ना जाए, because वो points थोड़े आते रहते हैं दिमाग में, especially in my case. मैं तो भाई I'm a goldfish, बहुत जल्दी भूल जाता हूँ मैं. So I'll try and keep in mind जो भी points हमारे. But excellent point is again by Tiger Rose. Alice Capsey will definitely not want to warm the bench, knowing that her national side is playing New Zealand in the WPL. But given how the squad is structuring, it's sort of very unlikely to see how can she be fit into the side, because Karp is a definite starter. So is Meg Lanning, of course, as their captain. So is Annabelle Sutherland as their most expensive buy off the auction. Jess Jonathan just adds that variety that they need. And this is where, again, going back to the weaknesses that we brought up, we've spoken about how they have just the solitary wrist spinner. I'll also add to it the fact that they have just one off spinner as well. And just one right arm off spinner, that is when it comes to domestic options. Alice Capsey being the overseas one who's most likely not going to play. Minno Mani is the only domestic off spinner they have. Unless, of course, they are willing to, give Shefali or Jemmy the ball, which wasn't the case last year, and there's no reason to believe that would be the case this year. Show me how much of an impact will this have, because Poonam Yadav is the only wrist spinner they have, and she adds absolutely no batting value. Minno Mani is the only right arm off spinner they have domestic options ki baat kari to. Do you think that could sort of, force them into trying a certain options more than the rest? Because Radha Yadav jo karti hai, Jess Jonathan does the exact same thing. So would they want a repeat of that, or would they want to sort of go to a Minno Mani or a Poonam Yadav to add variety to their attack? That could be a bit of a sort of selection conundrum, so to say, right?
I think when it comes to Minno Mani, she becomes almost like an auto selection, considering the kind of form that she has been witnessing, and considering that 2023 pretty much has been a breakout year for her in multiple aspects. So Minno Mani automatically becomes the first choice, and I think if with the rest of the options that are there, with a little bit here and there, they should be in good space, right? I mean, it might be looking like a little bit of a lag right now, but yeah, don't you think that this will always be the case when you're trying to build up a 11?
Fair enough, but again, this is where they probably could have thought, or rather given a bit more thought to those options there, because domestic spinners ki baat kari, they've got Radha Yadav, they've got Minno Mani, they've got Poonam Yadav. These are the three names coming off the top of my head. Again, pardon me if I've missed out a name or two there. But Neha, what do you make of that in terms of the spin attack? Do you think there is enough depth there, or do you think that this could be one area that the oppositions could try and exploit over here, a slightly mediocre spin attack, so to say?
Yeah, I think when you look at the spin attack, they still have the likes of Jess Jonathan, right? She is formidable on Indian pitches as well. We've seen her perform time and again for the team. Last Women's Premier League also, she was good in phases. You have Radha Yadav as well. I think that would also kind of answer Tiger Rose's question of, her coming from a very good domestic season. She was able to get runs and wickets. We've seen how she's been sidelined by the Indian team. Yet, the kind of persistence she has shown and the comeback she has made in domestic cricket has been a sight to behold. So I believe she can also add a lot of value in that sense. And even Poonam Yadav, right? Agreed, age is not on her side. Many people have written her off. Again, she had a great domestic season. So I'm kind of seeing, if she can factor in a few of those games. If given a go ahead and if they want to tinker a little bit with the combination. But considering they're playing in Bangalore and Delhi, so it will be interesting to see the kind of combinations they opt for. But I don't think the spin department looks mediocre. It still has, the pedigree to get those crucial wickets. But I think it'll be, interesting to see how Meg Lanning kind of, rotates the bowlers and sees how that, phase of play goes, especially in the middle overs or when you want to get those crucial wickets. Yeah.
I mean, Jess Johnson is definitely more than a dependable bowler. In fact, I remember cribbing out about the fact that RCB didn't go for her last year because she was literally the one player we needed to have a very well-rounded 11. अगर वो होती तो अपने को middle order में एक left-handed batter भी मिल जाता, slow left armer भी मिल जाता to sort of completely round it up, and that sort of was one area where they weren't really able to plug that gap. They tried to play, Preeti Bose. I don't think they tried Sahana Pawar, but not having that option and trying to force someone in there is what sort of hampered their combination. Of course, lack of form, all of that. Let's not jump teams here. Sticking to Delhi itself, that's where Jess Jonathan with the ball is definitely going to add a lot of value. But ball ka ho gaya, lekin bat ka fit. Like that's sort of the issue they'll have to face. Ki both of them are slightly above average. To the point where कि अगर एक का above average हो जाता है तो दूसरा below average हो जाता है. Like trying to sort of account for one problem. I wouldn't say problem necessarily, but trying to account for one of those factors. The other factor might be sort of, taken for granted, and that's where they could probably, sort of run into choppy waters. But of course, the first weakness we'd mentioned was, wicket keeping options. The reason why we mentioned lack of wicket keeping options is because Tanya Bhatia is probably the only instance I can think of in the last 3-4 years of a pure wicket keeper playing in a franchise league, because batting last year usko Shikha Pandey ke niche khilaya gaya tha. I don't know if this is a reflection of her batting or if it's a reflection of the DC management's lack of trust in her. But given this, and given the fact that again Aparna Mondal is the other option they have, but again see that domestic cricket khel ke aa rahi hai, hasn't played a lot of cricket at this level. Is she good enough? Is she not good enough? That's not sort of our we're not in the right place to sort of make that statement. But Neha, what do you make of that in terms of wicket keeping options? Because ideally, you would want your keeper to also be able to add value with the bat. Now, you take a Richa Ghosh, or be it Alisa Healy, Beth Mooney, or even if you take Mumbai's case, Yastika Bhatia, like all of them add batting value. But with Tanya Bhatia, there might be days where she might be slotted in at number 9, number 10 to send other batters above her. Given this, again, do you think this could be another cause for concern for them? Because again, the way they structure their 11, it has a lot of decent names without anyone sort of, looking like they'll break the ceiling and come up with something good.
Definitely. I think when you look at Tanya Bhatia's career progression as well, right, with the bat, she hasn't done a lot. I mean, in domestic cricket, we've seen flashes of brilliance, but in her India career and even in that Women's Premier League stint with the Delhi Capitals in the first season, it didn't inspire a lot of confidence, that thereby prompting the think tank to kind of, tinker with her position in that playing 11. So I think that might be a cause for concern. But again, we did reflect on the batting being strong, at least from 1 to 5. So if they can give you that powerful start, I don't think you'd need Tanya Bhatia to, come in, and she can, continue serving her role as a keeper. And even looking at this aspect, like Delhi did not have any option, right? They had to go for an Indian keeper, and they could have there were other options to explore, like Uma Chetri and all of these other characters who are doing well in the domestic circuit right now. But again, with Tanya Bhatia, there is this merit, that she's played for India and can turn a leaf. So probably that could have worked well in her favor. But I think this season there'll be make or break for her, at least in the limited opportunity she gets in that batting order. She has to make the most of it, or it might get very tricky for her.
I think I have a point to add there. So, especially looking at the way Delhi approached the auction, they knew that they needed to get in another wicket keeper, right? That was definitely one of the spaces they had identified much earlier. Now, I think just the reason that they had to go bang 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 on Sutherland, they really could not afford to wait long and pick up somebody somebody else, and just considering that they probably had not too much of a purse left, they went in with a 2.5 crore, right? For the auction, and they put
2.4 crores, if I'm not wrong, at 2.3 crores, two of which was spent on Annabelle Sutherland.
yeah. So I think it was, and she was one of the first buys. So I think it was only a matter of managing the purse, and that's why they could not really go with another option. Whether Aparna Ghosh will get a couple of chances, we don't know. I mean, maybe yes. I mean, one or two things here and there. She has been definitely talking about her interactions with Saurabh Ganguly, with other players. She's very comfortable in the setup. So definitely there is a compatibility with the player with the squad. But yeah, I think definitely the Tanya will be the first go ahead. There's no doubt about that.
I'm just trying to think auction में अगर उनको एक कीपर लेना भी था, उमा छेत्री of course domestic options में एक थी, but internationally कौन थे, who were the available options they could have potentially gone for? I'm just trying to think of names good enough for them to play in their first 11 straight up. There aren't too many keeping options available. मतलब जो भी थे जितने भी थे सब already लिए गए हैं. So given that, of course, and like Neha mentioned, it is in some sense the fact that Tanya has represented India to is level pe khela hai unhone, so she has that experience. That's probably helping them or rather forcing them to lean towards her in terms of playing her in the 11. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how what sort of a season does she end up having. Tiger Rose, of course, going on to mention Alice Capsey does keep part time, but yeah. Alice Capsey अगर keep करती तो फिर ball कौन डालता? Like that's how they were using her last year, right? They use her predominantly as a power play bowler, power play specialist, where she would bowl an over or two and try getting a wicket or two there. But yeah, fair enough. That's not a bad shout at all. Anyway, moving on to, of course, the O of the SWOT analysis, which is opportunities. There are a lot, but we wanted to sort of really focus on a couple of them that would really help their team to punch above their weight, which is what I think they did last year. And I mean, no disrespect by this. Players vying for a Team India spot, and of course, there's Meg Lanning's captaincy. When we speak about players vying for a Team India spot, there are plenty of names that come to mind. Like we mentioned earlier, there's Arundhati Reddy, Shikha Pandey, Radha Yadav, Poonam Yadav, Tita Sadhu. Practically every name that's there in the squad. To some extent, people might even say, arguably, Tanya Bhatia for that matter. Like all of these names have played for India, have dreams or ambitions of playing or representing their country again, and that definitely is an opportunity for the management to milk. And when I say milk, this is the kind of motivation players are looking for. Now it's all about the management trying to channelize this motivation and helping them convert this into performances. And again, these are all intangibles that can't really be sort of quantified, but it definitely makes a difference when a player is motivated. It definitely helps them give them that extra 100%, like instead of 100, 200%, and all of that. So that definitely would be one thing that the management would be looking at, and that also shows that the quality of players they have in the squad, they're good enough, because clearly they've all represented the nation. Of course, I forgot Minu Mani. You can add Minu Mani's name to that list as well. Given that the World Cup's happening in Bangladesh, and given that she was also a part of the Bangladesh tour, you never know. We've seen funniest things happen. If she goes on to have a decent or more than decent WPL, for all you know, she might be on the flight to Bangladesh come September. Of course, the second point being Meg Lanning's captaincy. The reason we brought that up is because it's been a while. I mean, again, like Neha mentioned, she doesn't like to say she's retired, but again, international cricket abhi nahi khelne wali. It's been a while since she's played. It's been 4 months, if I'm not wrong. She's of course been a part of the WNCL, the WBBL, and all of that. But in terms of captaincy, again, Meg Lanning, the batter, WNCL mein hame dekhne ko mila. She clearly seemed in good touch. There weren't any issues supposedly. But this is where captaincy, like, how do you look at this? Because now that you're not playing anymore, do you think there could be some change in how she leads the side? Show me. Let's start with you on that. In terms of Meg Lanning and her coming back, is this her first major tournament since she announced her retirement, or did the WBBL happen after that? I'm trying to think.
I think
the BBL. I'm trying to think actually. Is this Neha? Do you remember when did was the WBBL after her retirement, or was it before?
I think it was like during, no? When It was happening. I think it was during the WPL, because then she continued playing, and there was like a lot of speculation if she would continue playing for
So
Melbourne.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, correct. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. So I'll make a safer statement. This is definitely going to be her first overseas tournament after announcing her retirement from international cricket. So given all of that, do you think that would play somewhere at the back of her head, show me, in terms of, her not playing and all of that?
I think it will only add up. I mean, she's just not. She will be completely focusing on this, of course, considering the kind of captain she is. We did not have bothered about that last year as well, and that had pretty much shown up. But yeah, I mean, just to go by the facts of it, somebody who has been, I mean, that entire responsibility, that entire, if we call it a burden of captaining the nation, if that's gone off, she will be playing in a lot more freer manner in this particular in this particular season. So I think that will only add up. Also, whenever we have heard any of the DC players speaking, we have heard only great things about Meg Lanning, and they look like so much in the in absolute respect of Meg Lanning. Also, the kind of social media stuff that are coming up, the kind of fun things that are coming up, it just shows that the entire team is in a great space, and of course, that is led by the spirit that the captain is leading. So yeah, I'm very hopeful, or I'm looking at it from a very positive lens about Meg Lanning leaving the Australian captaincy and now completely focusing on DC. And probably she's one captain whose trophy cabinet probably now just needs one WPL. I mean, everything else is there. So she might come in with a lot more motivation like that. That maybe this is one feather to the cap that she will be really looking at. So yeah, that's about Meg Lanning. But yeah, I completely agree with you on the other the India contenders. When we look into it as a space of opportunity, definitely people who have been ignored. We have been speaking a lot about Shikha Pandey when we were doing the India women's discussion during the earlier this year. So definitely there are players who will be looking to get back into the side, but also again, Minnu Mani will be looking for a position in the World Cup squad. But beyond that, also, I think something that was also mentioned there is about this particular tournament being as a platform for people to get back into form. A great opportunity for Shefali Verma to actually be the destructive opener that she is. So she will be like playing along with Meg Lanning. So a great opportunity for her to kind of get back to things which we have been missing a little bit in the national side. Also an opportunity for Jemima to step up her T20 game. So yeah, I mean, those are the very positive things. Titash have had great India outings in this particular year. Be the also maybe if you look back at the under 19, then her debut, all of those things have been happening great. So this is also a great opportunity for her to be consistent and then cement her position in the side. So yeah, I mean, from all of those point of view, the opportunity space looks very, very promising in this particular case.
100%. And lastly, let's also, of course, talk about threats, potential threats. That is to the side, lack of variety in bowling options, domestic players not being in form, and of course, an over reliance or over dependence on their overseas players. Again, when we say lack of variety in their bowling options, again, make no mistake, we're talking about the 11. When you try sit down and construct that 11, that's where you realize ki boss, variety jab aati hai na, so it comes at the cost of quality, and this is where they'll have to sort of understand what's the sort of trade-off they're looking to make. If they decide to play a spin attack of just Jonathan, Poonam Yadav and Minnu Mani, again, it's one of those attacks that would not really, as an opposition, I wouldn't really be feared by it. It might seem like a competent attack, as if I was a Delhi fan, I'd be like, yeah, this seems like a reasonable, set of names, who can do well, who can punch above their weight and all of that. But if I was the fan, I mean, if I'm, part of the opposition, then I'd be like, ha, boss, theek hai, I can deal with them, especially at a venue like the Chinnaswamy. I wouldn't really consider any one of them to be threatening, to be proper wicket taking options. Neha, would that be a fair assumption to make, or a fair point to make, fair observation to make?
Yeah, I mean, as we have been talking about Delhi's like spin attack, Jess Johnson definitely adds a lot of value. She is that X factor in the setup. But who are going to be the next, set of bowlers to make it into that attack? You of course have Radha Yadav, who's had good returns in domestic cricket. But again, this is T20s, and the kind of venues you're playing at is going to be quite testing for her as well. And Minu Mani, right? Even in the limited opportunities that we have seen her play for India A and in age group cricket, she has looked quite formidable in that sense. But I think to write off Poonam Yadav might be not the smartest thing, right? Because we've seen how she has troubled batters on her good day, and Akshay will bring this point of how he saw her live in, Australia. But
Have
again,
to,
she,
have to.
yeah.
I was just waiting for someone to bring Poonam Yadav up, and I'd be like, boss, of course I know. मैंने देखा है भाई उनको.
Yes, exactly. And, at her best, we've seen, the kind of damage that she can do. So, although a lot of people might think, she's like a meek bowler, we can get the better of her, I think she will be coming in with this season with a lot to prove, right? So, in that sense, I wouldn't write off the bowling by saying, it does lack that variety, but then they can still, punch above their weight and cause that impact, because getting those crucial wickets early on will be imperative. And even the middle phases, right, not let the opposition kind of solidify and get to that bigger score will be something they look to stop.
Definitely, and I'll just take Tiger Rose's comment here. He's gone on to ask, what are our thoughts on Poonam Yadav? Her speed is very slow, due to which she got out of the Indian team. Can she improve her bowling speed like Kuldeep Yadav in men's cricket? I mean, I feel it's a bit of a stretch if we say कि bowling speeds की वजह से उनको मतलब team के बाहर निकाला गया था. Form and all of that also played a role. And to be honest, I don't think speed itself has anything to do with it, because each spinner has their own, sort of their own way of plying their craft. So some of them rely on flight and loop. It might seem a bit conventional, a bit traditional, but what works for you works for you. I mean, she's gotten all those wickets with that very speed, and I don't think she's sort of fastened or quickened her pace now. It's still the same. It's all about getting that rhythm back. Get again, without embarrassing myself by getting technical, but it's all about trying to get your rhythm back, and bowling it in the right areas. And of course, Poonam Yadav would know that better than me. I shouldn't be stupid enough to sort of try and explain that part of it. But again, we can only hope that she goes on to have a good season. Like Neha mentioned, we will be writing her off only at our own perils. It'd be very stupid of us. Let's quickly move on to the playing 11s as well, because we've spoken about the squad, we've spoken about the kind of setup they had, and what sort of strengths are we looking at, what are their weaknesses. We've spoken about all of this. So let's also have a look at the kind of 11s we've gone ahead with. Again, make no mistake, these 11s are the 11s we expect this side to go with. Okay, so let's have the playing 11s on. There you go. So, yep. Let's start with Neha now. Alphabetically again, it's Akshay, Neha, Soumi. Guys, again, ऐसा नहीं कि भाई मेरे को अपना पहले डालना था. I'll credit my parents here, I guess. But let's start with Neha. You've gone with a fairly expected top order. It's Meg Lanning, Shefali, then Cobb, then there's Jemmy, Sutherland, Tanya Bhatia, Jess Johnson, of course. There's Radha, Shikha, Minnu, and Titas. You can talk about the options and talk about any confusions you had, so to say. Like, was there any point of deliberation for any of the options ki boss yahan pe iske badle isko khila sakti thi, but I've gone ahead with this? Like, what do you make of this? Do you think this is a fairly sort of obvious choice for them?
Yeah, I mean, while I was kind of thinking from a Delhi POV as to what could be that ideal playing 11, this did come right at the top of mind, and that's why it's here. But again, kind of looking at the playing 11 now, I mean, Tanya Bhatia coming in at that spot would be like the finisher's role, which we have spoken at length about how she cannot quite be that ideal person there. But then let's see how the season progresses, and it depends a lot on how the batters at the top can provide that platform and give an ideal start. But again, when we look at the bowling as well, I think somewhere in between, they can probably get in Poonam Yadav, depending on the conditions. I think especially when they shift to Delhi, probably she can, slot herself in. That's in case, Radha Yadav is having a tough run, or, even Minu Mani is having a tough run. But I think besides that, the playing 11 looks quite formidable, right? Because Titus Sadhu's, of course, coming from her India debut, a lot of confidence, and she's been bowling well. Annabelle Sutherland too, cost one of the best picks for Delhi, so she definitely makes her way in there. So yeah, it was quite an obvious pick in that sense, and yeah, let's see how Delhi kind of fares in the tournament.
Show me, what about you? You've also gone with the same playing 11. Again, in terms of options, was there like, did you have any sort of deliberation in terms of, अरे यार इसके बदले उसको खिला सकते हैं, but I'd probably go ahead with this. Like, was there any area or any slot that you felt you had to sort of think a lot about, or do you think there's a fairly obvious first choice 11 for them? Nicely done. Show me. No worries. It's sort of become a ritual at
I
cricket.com.
didn't
So
expect this to happen on day one of WPL shows, but yeah. So yeah, I think the only thing that I was a little worried. I mean, I didn't want to do is bench Alice Capsey, considering that she has been so great last year. Also, she has been that very good aggressive kind of a player for them. So that is the only space where I was a little divided. But I think when it's a choice in between Sutherland in current form and Alice Capsey, we didn't really have a choice. Also, I just want to, can we just have the graphics up for a minute, please? Yeah. So I think the other thing that I also want to like, I just wanted to add it up in this particular case when we were talking about Radha Yadav, Shikha Pandey. They were pretty much in automatic selections, just like both of you probably would have thought through. Radha Yadav definitely for also the fielding prowess that she brings in. So that's definitely one of the spaces. Uske upar, just trying to get back to Hindi very cautiously. Shikha Pandey ka, I think Shikha Pandey ko we should not just count her off, because especially in a tournament like WPL where your current form actually plays probably the biggest role. So from that point of view, I think Shikha Pandey will come very handy for them come at the, especially the Delhi side of the tournament. So yeah, I think rest of the things almost came in as a auto selection.
fair enough. And again, in hindsight, I've realized that I've forgotten to ask my graphic designer to make a change in my 11. Pretty much the same. In fact, I'd gone with this 11 in the beginning, but I later realized that, again, this is my thinking. Personally, I prefer variety in my bowling attack, something we spoke about here as well. So the only change I would have made is having Poonam Yadav instead of Radha Yadav. And I completely missed that. So my 11 would pretty much be the same, except at number 8, I'd have Shikha Pandey, number 9, Minu Mani, number 10, Titas, and number 11, Poonam Yadav. Just gives me a spinner. There's also a right arm off spinner. There's also a slow left armer. And of course, you've got Shikha, Titas, and Marizan Karp and Annabelle Sutherland. That's 4 pacers. You've also got someone like an Arundhati Reddy waiting in the wings for an option. So there's adequate backup. And when it comes to pacers, and there's decent variety when it comes to spinners. I feel this would give them a more well-rounded attack, because when it comes to pacers, they arguably have the best bowling attack, best pace attack in the tournament. And I don't see any other team having as good and as well-rounded, as well-rounded an attack as them when it comes to pace. But spinners, variety halka sa hai, quality bhi halka sa hai, but again, like we said, it's average for both, without either of them sort of being they don't have too much of variety. At the same time, they don't have too much of quality, and this is where oppositions would like to exploit, because I can already see, again, Sophie Devan was the first name that came to my mind. You can also take Alisa Healy, you can also take Danny Wyatt, you can take Hayley Matthews. All of them can really get stuck into their spinners. Like, it's not that hard. Like we mentioned, the spinners don't really sort of look threatening. I mean, when I say look threatening, you don't think of them as wicket-taking options, as your strike bowling options. And given that, you could very easily see, 1 or 2 of their spinners going for plenty. And I'm not sure if their pacers can make up for it. Marizan Karp, of course, is a league above the rest. But then Shikha Pandey, Tita Sadhu, I mean, again, she's going to be playing her first season. Last year, she was with the Capitals. She did not play a game for them. So again, let's understand she's still a youngster. So while we might have our expectations, we also need to understand that, boss, high pressure games hai, there'll be huge crowds. There's, of course, a lot of tribalism when it comes to franchise cricket. We know that. And so that's why it won't be easy. It definitely won't be easy. And this is where I feel, which is why I feel they need that bit of variety, so to sort of add a bit of oomph to their 11. Let's take a couple of comments, of course, before we move on to the next team. Hoping for an RCB DC final, says Amit Gorai. You're not the only one, Amit. You're not the only one. That's all I'll say, and I'll leave it at that. Tiger Rose goes on to say, play 4 fast bowlers, and I'd prefer Capsey. Ooh. So you're saying you're dropping Annabelle Sutherland. So I'm guessing what he means is Annabelle ke badle play Arundhati Reddy, who's the only backup domestic pacer they have. until and unless they go to someone like an Ashwini Kumari, I'll just assume Arundhati would be the next in line when it comes to the pecking order. Neha, agree with this? Show me, what do you both think of it? Neha, let's start with you. In terms of pacers, do you think they could potentially drop Annabelle and one of their domestic options, maybe Titas, bring in not Titas, they'll of course drop Minnu Mani because option by similar hoga, Alice Capsey and Arundhati Reddy. Do you think that's a possible 11 they could start with?
Yeah, I mean, that also seems likely because Arundhati Reddy again comes in, having had played for India as well. And we've seen her, coming on the back of a good domestic season. So she can bring in that pace element and, add a lot of depth to the batting. But this is only in the scenario of like Anvil Sutherland's really having like a tough women's Premier League. She's not able to get going. I think they will give her at least a good probably 3-4 games to get going. But if she does not get going, then probably you can slot in Arundhati Reddy and then bring in the change of Alice Capsey as well. Because again, Alice Capsey is missing out a big series versus New Zealand that's unfortunately being scheduled at this time. So to kind of make her time also worthwhile, that could be an option that they would go in. But I think the first choice would definitely be Annabelle Sutherland. I mean, she's in the purple patch, having scored runs. I know Test cricket, the double century happened in Test cricket. Yet we've seen her performances in India, right? That has given us a good sample to kind of base our observations off. So definitely Annabelle Sutherland would be the first pick, but in case she has a tough set of games, then probably the changes could be brought in with like Arundhati Reddy and Alice Capsey coming in. Yeah.
All right, let's take this comment from Ronak. He says, who will be the wicketkeeper? Tanya Bhatia. Her batting looks like some weakness in the team. Again, we spoke about this, Ronak, in terms of, the weaknesses and, of course, the lack of wicket-keeping options and how they might sort of tend to struggle to fill this. So, I mean, yeah, it's also time for us to move on. We've spoken in depth. I was actually wondering, bhai, kitna baat kar paenge? Good to know that, we have enough content. There is enough meat, of course, in all these sites to talk about. It is time to move on to the second side. From the table toppers, we'll of course now be moving to the team that came last year. I'm not sure if they are in for an encore this time around, but yeah, we'll be talking about that and much more. Oh, before that, one last thing, of course, I completely forgot. We also have our predictions in terms of, where will Delhi Capitals be ending. My graphic designer decided to use our faces, so pardon my very weird pose. But let's start with my prediction. There we go. I've predicted Delhi Capitals to finish second, which means they will be a part of the playoffs. They will be playing the playoff and they won't get a direct entry to the finals. But yeah, I expect them to make a second playoffs in a row, given the side they have. And also, relatively speaking, they are stronger than the rest. They might have their weaknesses, they might have their threats, but relatively speaking, they're still a very strong side. And I'd be very surprised if they don't make it to the top three this time around. And let's quickly move on to Neha's prediction as well. Again, I'll just speak for all of them so that we can quickly wrap this up. Unfortunately, I realize that I've significantly overshot our time when it comes to talking about it. Again, a happy trouble, and I'm not really complaining about it. But yeah, Neha, again, same as me. She echoes my thoughts. Delhi Capitals finishing second. Again, I don't think anyone would disagree when it comes to this. Show me also going, oh, wait, sorry, I thought that was third. Show me. All right, show me. Fourth. I thought that was third. How did I miss this? Please elaborate.
I mean, of course, they had a great season last time, and considering that I have a bias towards RCB, so I would want them to be on the topper part of the table, and I'm trying to keep all those very very tough competitors down so that we just sail through. So it's a lot of positive bias that's coming in there. But yeah, beyond all of that, I think just the fact that I'm really hoping for Gujarat Giants to come back this year, though it doesn't look great on the paper, I know. But yeah, I'm just hoping that they will bounce back into the side of things. But yeah, it's mostly coming from the fact that hopefully we will have lesser stiff competition to deal with this time.
Interesting, since you mentioned Gigi and hope, and I'm guessing everyone who talks about Gigi will be adding hope in the same sentence, because Gigi without hope this year cannot do much. In all fairness, again, I'm apologies for being so sort of disrespectful, but again, I'm not trying to be that. I genuinely hope that they come up with good performances. But yeah, looking at that side, I just don't know where will they be able to do that. Let's have a look at the squad and the depth chart. There we go. They've of course got a solid batting lineup. I'll just sort of walk through the side in terms of the kind of options they have. Openers, they came, middle order batters, they've got a solid lineup, solid top order. So I don't think that's an issue for them. They've got a lot of experience, they've got a lot of solid options there. But when we start going down the order, that's where the issues begin. Be it their bowling options, or be it, the kind of options they have throughout. So again, in terms of bowling, there's only Catherine Rice and Ria Tahuhu. When it comes to overseas and when it comes to India, or domestic options, they've got Meghna Singh. They've also got Shabnam Shakil, and they recently signed Charlie Sadgare as Kashfi Gautam's replacement. A player they were looking forward to. I'm pretty sure when they spent 2 crores, they expected her to be a part of their entire season. Not to be the case. Neha, that's a huge blow, man. Like, again, how do you recover from a blow like that? Last year, they had Beth Mooney missing out. This year, they have Kashfi Gautam missing out. Luck hasn't been in their favor, man.
Definitely not. And kind of, just reflecting on their past season as well, they lost that first match to Mumbai as well, by that massive margin of 143 runs. They lost Beth Mooney early on, ended up 5th on the table, terrible net run rate, they were just like below RCB there. So I think they did have like the poorest of seasons, and coming into the auctions, they were trying to build their entire squad. They left a lot of players and everything, and they got Kashfi Gautam, right, who is this young player with so much promise and confidence, who can be a value addition to that setup. Bang on. Before the season starts, she's injured, which is going to be a big miss. But with the kind of replacement that they've announced in Sayali Sadgare, that I think we're going to discuss through the course of our discussion, I believe they're still in good hands. But again, when you look at the weaknesses, it just kind of overpowers any other parameter when we kind of gauge the kind of squad they have built. So in that sense, I'm a little concerned that this injury might be a big problem for them going ahead. But yeah, let's see how they can bounce back from a big setback like this.
100%. And Soumi, you clearly seem to have a soft corner for Gujarat. Do you think, this kind of a setback is something they can overcome? I mean, given the kind of players and resources they have on hand, Kashfi Gautam missing out for them. Nice. Nicely done, Soumi. That's
So,
2
yeah,
and 2.
Not a great day for me, like, evidently. But yeah, coming back to Gujarat, yes, I think definitely a big blow for Gujarat, considering that they have actually scouted her out. They have been going behind her, and so yeah, I mean, it's a blow. But also, I'm a little sad for Kashfi herself, and I mean, we have all seen her reactions, her parents' reactions when she got into that squad, and she was such a big story, and then getting such a setback. How does that impact a young player like her? How does that break her momentum? We all hope that she kind of gets back into things and takes it positively and comes back next year. But yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of a setback, I would say, for a youngster like her. Considering Gujarat, I think a bigger part of my soft corner comes in from the fact that I have huge amount of confidence in how Phoebe Litchfield has been over this entire year, and considering that how she has been in India. So yeah, from that point of view, I think in such tournaments, sometimes one big player can take you to a long distance, and this year that just might be Phoebe Litchfield.
I mean, that's a lot of confidence in a youngster. Let's hope that she does come good. Raunak Vadwa goes on to say, please make a poll for us also to rank these teams on the points table. Producer Saab, just make sure that's done. Of course, we want you guys to also, chip in and let us know, what do you guys think? Where would Delhi feature? Where would the rest of the teams rank? We'll, of course, be talking about Gujarat Giants now. Speaking of which, we saw the depth chart. We saw the kind of squad they have. Let's have a look at their schedule as well. Again, just like Delhi, they've got 4 games apiece in Bangalore and Delhi, and they'll be playing each of the sides at both of the venues, which means just like Delhi would say, this is a fairly balanced schedule. You don't need to, again, you can't really say that the schedule is in their favor or against them. So again, basically the reason why we're putting this up is to make sure that this cannot be used as an excuse at the end of the tournament. So that's pretty much it, because the schedule, it seems fairly balanced. मतलब सारी teams को Bangalore में भी खेल रहे हैं, सारी teams को Delhi में भी खेल रहे हैं, so they're getting the best of both. Because expectedly, I mean, at least we're all expecting, based on how both the surfaces have performed, Bangalore would be a belted of a surface, would be batting friendly. Delhi would be a slightly low and slow surface. So given that, you would be seeing the best of both worlds, so to say. So if you have a certain kind of an attack, you can't really say कि नहीं यार अपना तो schedule ही खराब था. आपके पास दोनों में एक तो आपका अच्छा होना चाहिए. So let's see कौन सा ये लोग अच्छा कर पाते हैं. So quickly moving on to, of course, this SWOT. There we go. There's the graphic. Neha, let's start with you in terms of their strengths. There you go.
Yes, I mean, dwelling more into their strengths, right? Now, I think one of the biggest thing has to be Beth Mooney's return. Last season, Gujarat Giants really missed her. And although, we did have Sneh Rana in her absence, kind of, marshalling the troops really well with whatever available resources were there. I think Beth Mooney brings a lot of value to the setup with her batting as well. Like, I think through those Australia, England, Mali series ke discussions time also, I brought this point, right? Of how she's such a stellar batter. In the WBBL, she scored runs in plenty and everything. So her presence really adds a lot of value. And even, reflecting on this dependable batting lineup point, now with Beth Mooney right at the top of the order, you also have the likes of Laura Boulevard, then you have Harleen Deol, Ashley Gardner, and the talk of the town, right? Phoebe Litchfield, who is definitely showcased her talent in on Indian soil. And even in the finisher role, I have so much confidence in Dayalan Hemlata, right? Again, played for India and in domestic as well. She's kind of shown her prowess. So in that sense, the batting lineup does give me like a lot of confidence. So I think Gujarat at least has that thing going in their favor, that at least we have a solid batting lineup. And one of the biggest advantages for them is the fact that they picked an associate player right now in the form of Catherine Bryce, who has been making the right noises in the international cricketing circuit. Barring the fact that they can use her as that fifth option in the playing 11, besides the four overseas players, I think it's great to see associate nation players finally get a go ahead. I think last season we had Tara Norris play for Delhi. Not sure why they did not want to go ahead with her, but that apart, having Catherine Bryce in this playing 11 just offers so much of stability. And even the good domestic picks, because Gujarat had to literally build their squad from scratch, right? So you kind of look at the picks they've had. You have Meghna Singh, you have Trisha Pujita, Veda Krishnamurti, who can again salvage her India comeback through this Women's Premier League as well. You have Mannat Kashyap, Priya Mishra, the leggy who's been just so brilliant, and Catherine Bryce. These are just some among the many impressive names that they've kind of staggered in this auction. So I'd say that rebuilding their team did take a lot of effort, but the names who have made it into the squad gives me that confidence that there is a good mix of like domestic players also who can actually benefit a lot. So even if Gujarat doesn't go all the way this tournament, I think these players will benefit, which will in turn augur well for India, going ahead.
Fair points, those, and I had a point to make, and like a bloody goldfish, I've already forgotten what I wanted to say. एक तो point कुछ तो बताना था कि भूल गया. हाँ, I just wanted to say, अचानक से दिमाग में चमका. I mean, due credit to Gujarat Giants. They've been the only side who've actually gone for associate players in both the seasons, except last year. Mahika Gaur ka pick did not really come through because of a miscommunication and error in understanding the rules. I was so hopeful of seeing Mahika Gaur last year, not to be the case, but yeah, this year they've gone for Catherine Price, which, like Neha mentioned, is like a no-brainer. Like, why would you not go for associate players when you can leverage your 11? At the end of the day, you're here to win the tournament. At the end of the day, you want the best out of your 11. So it's very surprising that other teams aren't doing this. In fact, I was surprised that Delhi let go of Tara Norris. I mean, there's no way on earth you could possibly tell me that having Tara Norris made little to no sense for them in the squad, not even in the 11, in the squad. And especially after the fight, I mean, she didn't have a bad performance. She took a fifer against who. So let's not go down that road. But speaking of the Gujarat Giant, of course, in terms of their strength, Soumi, agree. I mean, we all can agree, right? In terms of the batting, that's definitely going to be their strength. And some might even argue possibly their only strength in terms of how strong their batting lineup is. They've got so many options. That they've got Phoebe Litchfield, Beth Mooney, Laura Wolfa, there's Ashley Gardner, Veda Krishnamurti, there's even domestic options like Trisha Pujata, like Neha mentioned. Of course, there's also Hemlata, who could potentially be eyeing a comeback. So a lot of names there, Shomi. Again, so batting sorted for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think just looking at the fact that they have Beth Mooney, Phoebe Litchfield, they have Harleen, they have Ashley Gardner. So all of these things definitely add. Am I audible? Yeah. So all of these things definitely adds up to the and even last year we have seen when we talked about Sneharana, offline, we were talking about how good she has been in terms of leading that side. So over and above, from the batting point of view, they look pretty solid. From the bowling, they are looking depleted. But yeah, I mean, maybe one or two good options here and there can make a little bit of a difference there.
Fair enough, and of course, Tiger Woods going on to say such a luxury to have five foreigners catching guys. Completely agree with you there, Tiger Woods. We cannot agree with you more on that. Going back to the graphic and talking about, of course, the potential opportunities they have with the kind of squad. Oops, my bad. There we go. In terms of sorry, opportunity से पहले weaknesses आता है. Sorry, इतना बह गया भावनाओं में कि भाई friends अच्छे. Weaknesses पे बात करते हैं. Like Soumi mentioned, they do have a depleted bowling attack. Lack of batting depth, that could be a cause for concern for them. And of course, a direct consequence of that is the lack of all-round options, or it's probably the other way around. Lack of all-rounders is, the consequence of that is them having lack of batting depth. Again, the reason I particularly wanted to focus on this point is because Gujarat Giants is probably going to be the only franchise in this season to have a top six with just one bowling option. That's Ash Gardner. There's no one else. And that's definitely not how you see women's sides across leagues, even if you look at international sides, very rarely will you find a top six with just one bowling option. While it's a very common feature when it comes to men's cricket, that's not the case here. You see a lot of all-rounders. And again, Soumi, when you talk about this, when you look at this, especially given the fact that, they don't have a lot of bowling options, and coupled with the fact that now they don't have enough all-rounders to sort of tie in, it's going to be really difficult for them to even, piece a decent enough bowling attack, right?
Yeah, I think, and that's where the loss of the bowlers right now is making a difference. But yeah, that also we believe that Leah Tahu will be automatically slotted into the side. I think they do not really have any other choice at the moment. She of course brings in a fair bit of experience along with her. So from that point of view, it might be just a blessing in disguise for them. So yeah, I mean, hoping that she comes along well, but they will be definitely limited in terms of the fact that and in these kind of tournaments, if somebody doesn't get going or somebody gets injured somewhere in between, I think we really don't know how that will span out for Gujarat.
Yeah, what about you in terms of their bowling attack? I mean, this is going to be a vibe now that we've started, because again, there's so much to talk about. And what do you think was the thought process? Do you think like Mithali Raj has found a gem or two in their domestic options? Like, what do you think? Like, hardly any hardly any international options, hardly any, even Indian international options, so to say. What do you make of this attack, and how do you think, they'll fare this time around?
Yeah, I think it will be a concern, going in their pace attack, right? Like you see, it's very thin. There's, of course, Meghna Singh and now Leah Tahu, who has been also named. So I think she'd probably make her way for someone like a Laura Wolfart, right? Because where else will you kind of slaughter, and then you need experience in that bowling setup as well, right? So I think you'll probably have Meghna Singh and Leah Tahu kind of lead that pace attack. Then you also have Sayali Sadghare. But coming to the bowling, like coming to the spin attack side of things, you still have dependable names in the form of like Mannat Kashyap, you have Sneh Rana, you have Catherine Price. So I think although it might seem like everything is done, but maybe they can inspire some sort of a confidence. And it might be initially difficult for them to win a few games, because to gel this unit and everything might take a lot of time. And also Ash Gardner, I know she's been in like not the best possible form, but if she does come back to her own, we know she can be very destructive, right? So although she's the only bowling option in that top six, she can add a lot of stability to the batting as well as the bowling. So let's see how she kind of gets going. And with the domestic picks, although Mithali Raj did want to go with a lot of them, they are also like pretty commendable names, like Priya Mishra, right? For that matter, we've seen the kind of domestic season she's had. Like in phases, she's been brilliant. She's just 19-year-old, a leggy, inspiring so much confidence. I would, keep an eye out for her definitely. And even for Mannat Kashyap, she did have like a tough India debut, but I think they'll be raring to come back stronger. So although the bowling looks a little on the weaker side, I think we still, need to give them time to gel as a unit and then see how they come in surfaces like Delhi, right? Even if they have a bad Bangalore leg.
Fair enough, but all things said and done, I do agree with Jugal here. I would also love to see that. If you guys remember, if you guys know, like Avnish would say, need to see Muni dance again to the tune of bring it on, Gujarat Giants will bring it on. It was definitely a hilarious sight. None more so than Smriti Mandana dancing. I don't know if you guys remember that. Oh my goodness. Boy, does she not like dancing. But anyways, coming back to the graphics and coming back to our analysis of the Giants, talking about their opportunities, because we've spoken about their strengths, we've spoken about their weaknesses. Neha mentioned, a couple of those interesting names there in terms. I mean, a couple of interesting names in terms of domestic options. So yeah, that's definitely an opportunity they can look at. A lot of unknown commodities. We know Mithali Raj and her affinity for players from the railways. We saw that last year as well. There's Notion Al Khadir, again, someone who's coached the under-19 setup, who knows a thing or two about these local talents. So unknown commodities could definitely be an opportunity for them to milk. Again, I'm using that word for some reason. I'm not sure why. But like Neha mentioned, Priya Mishra is definitely a name to look out for. मैंने बहुत confidently बोल तो दिया, but मैंने ज़्यादा clips देखा नहीं इनका. Neha, if you want to shed a bit more light on the player, who is she, and what really sort of makes you think that she's going to be someone to look out for this season?
So yeah, even now, domestic cricket, of course, in India comes with the challenges of not having enough footage and stuff to refer through. So you have to go through the scorecards and about other, discourse that people bring on social media. So talking about Priya Mishra, she's a 19-year-old leggy, and through the domestic season, we could see how she really, pocketed a lot of wickets. I think it was the interzonal T20 trophy as well, that kind of saw her get a lot of wickets. So again, because age is on her side, and the subcontinent conditions kind of favor a lot of spinners. So it will be interesting to see her trajectory and how she is kind of nurtured as well. And I know like India does a lot of like dumping of bowlers here and there, but I hope like she's the kind of talent that is persisted with, is given enough opportunities. Maybe in this Gujarat Giants setup, she may not find her place in the playing 11 immediately, but considering she'll be playing with some very experienced players in this setup, I hope she can make the most of this opportunity and kind of carry on that vein of form through domestic cricket and eventually make her India debut. But I think she's definitely one player to watch out for, and I hope she gets a few games to kind of showcase her skills.
Again, I mean, in terms of leg spinners, we've seen how the Indian side could really do with the leg spinners. So yeah, definitely we can only hope that Priya Mishra gets a couple of chances. Neha mentioned Mannat Kashyap. I'll also add Tanuja Kanwar's name to that. She also was with them last year, so that she'll definitely be another name to watch out for. Show me in terms of opportunities, again, if we sort of speak further, their overseas players are practically all of them in form, barring Ashley Gardner, like Neha mentioned. And of course, the only side to have the luxury of playing a fifth overseas player by way of Catherine Rice. Definitely something that could help them strengthen their side. But do you think these are good enough opportunities for them to, be able to finish in the top three? Almost. Oh no, she does. All right, thank you, Soumi. Nice.
This is such a hot day for. I mean, yeah. But anyway, so yeah, considering the fact that unknown commodities, yes, and we just don't know how these younger people will actually turn around. So it can be looked upon as something which is a weakness, and at the same time, as we have always spoken, that these are two sides of the same coin. So a similar thing can come up as something as a very surprising factor for us. So yeah, that's there. In terms of Ashley Gardner really becoming herself, that is definitely an opportunity, and we know she has definitely all the capabilities to do that. So those will be two very big spaces for me to really look at in terms of how Gujarat can maximize and take this one notch higher.
Interesting. I'm very tempted to take this question by Tiger Rose right now. I'm just thinking, I'm sort of deliberating in my mind कि अभी लेना है बाद नहीं लो अभी ले ही लेते हैं अगर इतना मतलब सोचने का पड़ रहा है तो. Priya Mishra, Amandeep Kaur, Asha Shobna, Pashvi Chopra, which wrist spinner will play first for India? What are your thoughts on all of them? मैं पहले अपना आधा सेंट दे देता हूँ, then I'll sort of lay it open for two rather, Neha and Shomi. Priya Mishra definitely youngster यार अभी थोड़ा time देते हैं. Let's not jump the gun there. Pashvi Chopra, I still want to see a bit more of her. I like what I saw of her with the ball, but bat के साथ उतना कुछ खास मुझे I didn't think that she had it, to be able to level up with the bat. But when I was interviewing, I'll have to flex this as well. The UP Warriors side, she did mention that she's trying. She wants to play as a pure all-rounder this time around, and she's really worked on her batting. So that's definitely going to be something to watch out for. When it comes to Asha Shobna, again, last year it took me just one game to feel कि boss इसको तो इंडिया में लेके चलो. And again, without sort of getting too technical, it's her action, it's the way she is. Because unlike most leg spinners we've seen in India, who usually sort of diminutive, very very sort of tiny and very thin and all of that, Asha is well built. She puts a lot of her body behind the ball. There's a lot of revs. And she's got a very strong action. And like I mentioned before, I mentioned this off air. She bowled over 10 overs. I don't remember a single long hop. She was very consistent, very accurate with the ball. She knew how to hit the right lens. And like I said, she's very strong. So I would definitely have, I would really be hoping that she does well this time around. In fact, she's also trained under Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan during the off-season. So really looking forward to seeing her. Amandeep Kaur, of course, is the left-arm wrist spinner. And just by virtue of that, she will definitely be ahead of the pecking order, because it's such a rare commodity. We've never really seen a left-arm wrist spinner play for India in a long, long, long time. I don't think if there's ever been one. Has there been one, Neha?
I think Rajeshwari, she's left-handed.
Wrist ka.
Wrist spinner, that's been a rare commodity.
लेफ्ट आर्म wrist spinner भाई, लेफ्ट आर्म स्पिनर तो इतना मतलब माना कि बुद्धू हूं, बट इतना भी नहीं भाई, इतना तो याद रहेगा. But so that'll be very interesting to see how she fares, because like we mentioned, very rare commodity. So yeah, you never know if that sort of turns into something. And let's again talk about the threats now, because I just realized कि बहुत threats बचा है. Opportunities के बारे में बात करें. Again, the opportunities once again are closely tied with the batting lineup, with of course the domestic options, the untested commodities, all of that. But of course, with having so many domestic options and having such an untested, having so many unknown commodities, comes the threat of having an untested bench strength. Oops, let's hide the comment there. There we go. In terms of trends, there's of course the very late signing, the almost 11th hour signing of Michael Klinger as their head coach, the over dependence on overseas players, and of course the untested bench strength. Shomi, let's start with you. Like, what do you make of this, especially that Michael Klinger signing? Let's start with that. This happened way after the auction. It's been a couple of months.
I think the good part about this is he's a pretty much a young guy, and he has he played franchise cricket, or he's been a part of IPL? I mean, I read.
IPL, he's been a part of IPL with the Kochi Tuskers Kerala, but not played a lot.
Yeah. So I think from that point of view, it's really interesting to see a young guy come in and how he actually takes this team together. It's a little what I mean, the kind of spaces that I've been reading about has been talking about how it's a completely different ball game to at least have the Indian women cricketer, the domestic cricketers up in a single space, and how to lead them is a completely different ball game. So hoping that he will be able to crack some success there. But just the sheer fact that he's a much younger coach who came into the system is very exciting.
Definitely. And Neha, what about you? Because if I'm not wrong, the only experience he has when it comes to women's cricket is coaching the Melbourne Stars side. I'm not sure if it's the men's side of things, the women's side, right? Okay. What do you make of that signing? And especially given that it was so belated. That's usually signs, the signs that, not all well with the side. Because auction ho gaya, he wasn't even a part of the team selection. This is not a team he would have wanted. But he's being expected to coach them and, help them get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it did seem like a surprise signing, because you have the likes of Mithali Raj, you have Nushan Al-Khadir as well in that setup. So the need to sign an overseas coach kind of baffled me at that point. But again, Michael Klinger does come in with a lot of experience. And from what I've also, read and heard, he's, with that mindset to kind of help the unit gel and have a better showing than what they did have in that first season as well. And I believe they did not want to continue with Rachel Haynes, right? So that again was quite shocking. Was एक ही season में कैसे decide कर लिया कि she is not the most ideal one to go, because again Rachel Haynes has had a huge international career, and her coaching career is also quite new, and they should have probably given her a longer run. But Michael Klinger did seem like that option that they would want to bank on, and probably one who is available for this time period as well. It will be interesting to see how he gets the most of the domestic players as well, because again, this is an untested domestic set of players. Like, they have played in that ecosystem, but again, the Women's Premier League is like an emerging space where there is like a mix of national and international. So yeah, I think it will be a big opportunity for him if he can prove all of us wrong and ensure that Gujarat probably gets to a decent position in that table as well, and probably also get the most of the overseas picks.
Interesting. And also speaking about their over dependence on the batting lineup and, of course, international players, because most of them will be a part of their top six. We will be discussing about that when we bring our playing 11s as well. But what do you make of that, Shomi? Because, again, bowling kuch khas nahi hai, which means that batting will have to do bulk of the damage. It helps that they've got informed batters, that they've got strong, experienced options there. But do you think they probably will have to bite off more than they can chew, or do you think the batters can sort of handle the responsibility and win them more games than not?
I think that's a reality with a cup with at least one more team. So I think let's just hope that, considering that again, just looking at the venues that we are playing, so those will be a lot more batter friendly. So if the batters can actually do well and they can play on their strengths, then that can come good for them. And as Neha mentioned that though on the papers they don't look like the best side when it comes to bowling, but they do have certain weaponaries here and there to pull it off on any good day. And especially considering either Chinnaswamy or Arun Jaitley Stadium, you need to have a good day to pull off a good bowling. So yeah, from that point of view, they do have they need not be thinking that they're absolutely in deep waters before they get into this tournament, because it's they are in a kind of a space where they can't do anything about it right now, except for hope for the fact that they move on with this, and we have seen these kind of surprises come along well in franchise cricket. So yeah, I think I would just want to look at it from a very positive lens. Sometimes this positivity gets into a toxic false positivity as well. But yeah, I mean, considering that it's completely uncontrollable for them right now, so that's how we can progress.
100%. Sanjay, meanwhile, going on to say over dependence on batting, depleted bowling reminds us of a certain franchise. I kid you not, I was thinking about the same thing when Soumi was mentioning. Ki, batters अच्छे हैं, bowling ठीक नहीं है, हाँ, लेकिन कर सकते हैं. And I was like, भाई, ये तो अपना रोज का है, इसमें नया क्या है? So, but yeah, completely agree with you there, Sanjay. Meanwhile, Jugal going on to say, Ashley Gardner a fair shout for MVP, 100%, no doubt. She was their highest run scorer last year. No reason why she wouldn't. I mean, she won't be able to replicate that performance. Of course, that lack of form could be a cause for concern. But you know what? New venue, new tournament, new season. You never know. She might start afresh and she might sort of come up with something special for them. Meanwhile, sports fan also asking us what happened to Doughton. Well, last year she was replaced by Laura Wolfhard, and the rest, as they say, is history. They decided to stick with Laura, and they've let go of Doughton. And unfortunately, she found no takers this time around. Be very interesting to see if she also comes in eventually as a replacement or something like that. Let's hope she also features in the WPL, because make no mistake, she's a bona fide legend when it comes to women's cricket. We'll talk about our playing 11 soon. Let's just take a couple of comments before we go to that. Tushar Singh going on to say, for GG, a couple of players have to play out of their preferred positions just to fit in the playing 11. That's a very interesting point. We'll probably sort of dwell on that deeper when we bring in our 11s as well. Will Shayali Sadgare play or feature in the first 11? A couple of them, I mean, Neha does agree. I'm still not sure how that can work. But yeah, she does seem like a direct swap for Katpi Gautam. So that way, yeah. Sachin also going on to say we'll score 300 every game. No worries, bowlers are overrated. Admire the confidence, admire the optimism, Sachin. That's all I can say. I mean, staying true to his name, scoring 300 every game. So yeah, there aren't too many batters who'd be this confident about their batting. But yeah, coming to the playing 11s, Neha, again, let's start with your 11. Just walk us through it, and why do you think these options would sort of make their first 11 and not the rest?
I mean, this definitely has to be their best playing 11, the kind of resources they have. And I think this was formulated before Leah Tahu came in. Now, if Leah Tahu does, make her way in, probably I'd swap her with Laura Woolward and get someone else to open. But again, now when I look at the number 3 slot, we have Harleen Deol there. We've seen glimpses of her good performances. But again, I think because of the lack of options, they're probably going to have to use her at that slot. And again, probably if Phoebe Litchfield at, say, number 5 does not seem ideal, she can probably open with Beth Mooney. But then again, puts a lot of like overseas players ka quota right at the top, which I don't think could be the most ideal thing to go. But then I think with the kind of available resources they have, this seems like the best playing 11. Because again, as you walk down, you still have like Hemlata, you have Sneh Rana. And I think we did also deliberate on this option of getting in a Veda Krishnamurthy, right? She could have probably also slotted herself in the case of Laura Wolfhard not playing, and we put Phoebe Litchfield up there, so you could have Veda Krishnamurthy also coming in. But again, that's a lot of permutations and combinations to add solidity to that batting depth that kind of looks a little haywire. And also talking about how Kashmi Gautam is not playing, which is going to be a big setback to Gujarat, because we've seen the kind of wave she's made in domestic cricket. Now her replacement is Sayali Sadkare, who's made who's raked up some good performances in the domestic circuit. So I'm quite confident she can be a replacement, that would be ideal there. And Catherine Price, though, we've spoken at length, like, she definitely does make it into that playing 11, associate nations quota slot can be filled in by her. And I think the bowling also kind of picks itself, right? You have Meghna Singh will definitely make it through because she is going to be that Indian pace bowling spearhead. Mithali Raj trusts her a lot, and Manat Kashyap definitely, on the back of good performances in the domestic circuit, having also played for India under 19 and that India debut that probably did not go too well, but still there is some confidence that they will have to go with this combination. For their luck, they do have some options in the wings, but again, these are untested domestic commodities who will be probably brought in if these options don't work out. So for now, this does look like a settled playing 11. Just the thing is, do we, remove Laura Wolfhard and probably get in Leah Tahu and have Veda Krishnamurthy come in, so you have some solidity in that late middle order as well. Yeah.
I'll probably go with my 11 now because once again, like the goldfish that I am, have forgotten to ask my designer to change my 11. Again, I know it sounds like a convenient excuse, but trust me, I know Neha and Soumi know of the 11 I had in mind. And in fact, I deliberated and discussed this with them as well. So most of it remains the same. Just Kashmi Gautam, of course, now goes out, and I will go with Sayali Sadkari simply because we don't have a direct like-for-like replacement barring her. So I'd rather have her and also add a bit of that all-round option. I would not go with Laura. I would instead open with Phoebe Litchfield because it wouldn't be something new to her. She has opened before in the BPL. She's opened for Australia as well last year. So given that, I would open with Beth and Phoebe. I would have Veda Krishnamurthy coming in at number 5. Again, this is her home venue. She knows this venue in and out. She's also not the worst of batters when it comes to, aggression. So that also will definitely help them. She also has that experience. She also has the backing of Mithali Raj. Then I'll have Leah Tahu, of course, because there's no way on earth Gujarat Giants can field an 11 without Leah Tahu. Make no mistake, there's no way. They absolutely cannot field an 11 without her, because without her, they will risk fielding a pace attack that consists of Meghna Singh / Shabnam Shakil / Sayali Sadgare and then Catherine Bryce. That's, oh my goodness. That's, again, like when you're going to be playing 4 of your games, which is half of your league stage games at the Chinnaswamy, that's not the kind of pace attack you want to go ahead with. That's definitely not. That's proper baptism by fire for all of the newcomers, because none of them have played enough WPL games for you to warrant that kind of confidence. And that's why Leah Tahu and that belt of experience would help. So that's why I'll have Leah Tahu in, and they will need that batting. Soumi also has an interesting 11 because she also has Leah Tahu. Soumi, if you could walk us through your 11 and the kind of options you've gone ahead with.
Yeah, so I think from the point of view of the batting, I think they are pretty much the common options that we all have picked. In terms of Catherine Bryce, of course, I wanted to have really avail that 5th overseas option that Catherine Bryce brings. Plus, she has been good. Also, the kind of bowling that she brings in. With respect to the bowler, I would definitely want to see a Shabnam Shakila. She's like a 15-year-old, and we have seen in these kind of franchisee cricket how these youngsters sometimes really crack open and they become those X factor players. And just looking at Shabnam Shakil, I get a feeling that she might be that kind of a character who can come along well. So definitely, if not right away in the early 11, maybe 1 or 2 games down the line, Gujarat can as well experiment with a youngster like her. Manat Kashyap, also because of the fact that she had been in the India setup, and she has learned to she has at least started to learn how to take those pressured situations. So yeah, that has been the thought process going ahead for the playing 11.
100%. Batting is sorted. Domestic ho, international ho, batting to hai unke paas काफी सारा. When it comes to options, but Yeah, it's going to be very hard. Couldn't agree with Melville more here. Praying for GG more than RCB, and this guy is an RCB fan himself. I sort of relate to that. कि भाई मतलब ये क्या ही हो गया ये मतलब कहाँ से क्या क्या करने वाले? It's almost like you just don't know like who to play, where to play, कैसे like. It'll be very interesting to see how do they go about their business. And happy to be proven wrong though, of course. Sanjay, meanwhile, going on to say, how did GG get almost no all-rounders while MI got almost every one in their top six? And it also shows a lack of experience when it comes to the auction system. Maybe it is a benefit of experience for MI. Sort of have to agree there, but the thing is, it's not like, unlike men's cricket, again, have to go about making the same point. Women's cricket is filled with all-rounders, yaar. Like, if anything, batters are is a more rare commodity. How did he end up with more batters than no all-rounders? Like, it's like this is exactly the kind of blunder RCB would do, and I'm genuinely happy that finally it's not an RCB related franchise that's coming up with such blunders, because it's just crazy, man. Like, absolutely bizarre. Neha, your thoughts on that? Is fair to say, right? Like, it's genuinely like surprising. How did they end up with the top order like that?
Yeah, I mean, now the thought process clearly was not there because, again, Gujarat was kind of building their team from scratch. So you'd expect them to come up with more wise choices. But as, one of our viewers rightly pointed out, there is a clear lack of all-rounders. Kashmi Gautam was, going to be slotted in as that all-rounder who could contribute with both the bat and ball. But her injury definitely does derail the campaign to a great extent. But either case, we still can, impose our confidence in the other players in that top six. Ash Gardner still holds the flag for being an all-rounder. And I think one of our viewers, again, pointed out that she could be probably like, the MVP and everything. So seeing her make a strong comeback will be important. And as we've been talking about, Gujarat now has no option but to make the most of the resources they have. And we would be happy to be proven wrong if they can actually go all the way, end up with a top two finish, or even just end up like third on the table, because that will be like a big up, right, considering where they finished off last time. So there's a lot to play for, and just hoping they can get their stuff together.
Santa Cruz, thank you so much. I mean, these are the kind of comments that sort of make us also feel that, boss, the effort is totally worth it, because trust me, the three of us have been working, have been discussing. And yeah, I'm not complaining. None of us are complaining. We love discussing it. And we're happy that we are able to do this for a job. I mean, we're not complaining about it. But yeah, he or she goes on to say, rather, love the in-depth analysis so far, a bit lengthy, but worth every bit. GG has made a huge blunder and a horrendous squad, sorry. Great job to you all to put every bit of it in this preview. Thank you so much, Santa. We know not a lot of channels out there are going to be covering this, so we wanted to sort of put in as much depth, as much nuance as possible, because we all know, of course, at the end of the day, we all are human beings. We all are RCB fans as well. So there will be that bias. But we've tried our best to be as neutral, to be as objective as possible when it comes to each of these teams. And like all of us have said before, as much as we want to believe that GG can do something good, hi, नहीं थोड़ा हो गया, थोड़ा कांड हो तो गया वहाँ पे, क्या बोले अभी?
And just to add up to what Akshay just mentioned, that we at CDC, we are very neutral. Yes, we are. But Jugal, you might not be our favorite viewer from now on.
But the thing is, what's the sad part? This could actually happen. It's not beyond RCB to
Thank
lose
you for
to
that.
GG.
Thank you for prepping us. Yes.
Exactly. So if anything, we should thank Jugal ki bhai. Thank you so much for preparing this, because ये होने वाला है, and I can already see हम लोग watch along कर रहे होंगे, and I'll be losing it. I'll be absolutely losing it. क्या चल रहा है? क्या चल रहा है? And yeah, so anyways, we'll save all of those reactions rather, for the watch alongs, of course, which again, peeps, don't forget, we will be doing watch alongs for the WPL for each of those games. So do tune in. Avnish will also be a part of it. Nix will also be coming in and making his appearance for a couple of games. Don't forget, he's also a UP Warriors fan. Funnily enough, the four of us are RCB fans, including Avnish. So I'm not sure how these watch alongs going to be. But rest assured, you'll find a lot of fun, you'll find a lot of banter, you'll find a lot of engagement, a lot of reactions, and trust me, a lot of analysis as well. We will be trying that to our best. Is there a trading window for the WPL? Asks Sanjay. As far as I know, I'm not sure if the WPL is sticking to the IPL rules, in which case there will be a trading window open right now, but I'm not sure if that is the case. So let's hope that there is a trading window open. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no trade yet happened, right, in WPL history. We've so far seen no trades. So let's see if something like that happens as well. Meanwhile, Tiger was going on to say, when something bad happens to Gigi, camera always pans to Mithali's face. Hope she achieves something good. I mean, yeah, let's hope. Let's hope. We genuinely do hope for that. Sanjay, meanwhile, going on to say maybe the odd number doesn't work for Gujarat-based franchisees, except for GT. The other two Gujarat franchisees have been disappointing. I'm not sure what the odd number is in reference to. I'm just trying to think. Do you guys know what is being referred to here when it comes to odd number?
I think it's the Mumbai Indians philosophy of odd even year. Is it?
What is the Mumbai Indians philosophy of odd even? Wait.
Whatever they used to say that odd year is there, so even year is not there. Whatever that
Oh,
word came
acha,
from.
वैसा साल का अच्छा. Sachin also going on to confirm. Makes sense. Yeah, let's see. यार संजय इतना analysis भाई. For more such analysis, follow cricket.com.
And the producer has taken good note of the time. Yes.
Exactly. You don't have to worry about that. Thank you so much, guys. And please do make sure you're commenting. Please do make sure you're hitting the like button if you haven't already. And make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. And there's a lot of live content coming your way. And also do check out the first episode of Unwind with cricket.com. It was a fantastic interaction with Mike Hesson. He spills the beans on a lot of things, including the Chahal buy or rather the Chahal miss buy, so to say. Lot of things, a lot of interesting conversations, and yeah, Mike Hesson being candid as ever. It was a great. It was great fun having had that conversation and having been a fly on the wall of that conversation. So do check that out on YouTube right now. Of course, the India test also begins in a couple of days, so we'll plug that in as well. On the 23rd, it'll be day one of the fourth test. It'll also be the first game of WPL season 2. Lot of cricket coming your way, lot of live content coming your way. So make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. Now, time to move on to our predictions, of course. Let's start with mine. When it comes to Gujarat Giants, there we go. No surprises. I don't think they'll be able to, improve on their last season's performance. They finished 5th last year. I don't see it being any different this year. Again, we need to understand that in absolute, when you sort of think of Gujarat Giants in isolation, yeah, sure, they do have a decent batting lineup, but you have to consider this relatively to the other teams, and that's where you realize, ki boss, yeah, relatively when you think of the other teams, most of them have better balance. They might not themselves be good, but they definitely have better balance than Gujarat Giants. So yeah, it's hard to sort of not see them, come improve their performance from last year. Meanwhile, Neha going on to say that they will improve on last year's performance. They will finish 4th. I'm very interested in knowing who does she think will finish 5th. We'll, of course, come to that in due course as well. Soumi, meanwhile, going on to say, of course, the eternal pessimist, she does think that Gujarat Giants will make it to the playoffs.
I'm the optimist. Akshay. You
What
just
did I
got
say?
so pessimist.
Oh, geez, sorry. The eternal optimist. Oh, my goodness. 15 years of supporting RCB has made me forget words. Really sorry. Eternal optimist, not pessimist. Oh, man. If DC finishes 4th and GG finishes 3rd, oh,
Twitter
man,
will explode.
that will make for some fantastic cricket. That means, that
No,
means
but I
we'll have a
seriously,
lot of.
seriously don't know. I seriously don't know. I mean, in what state of mind I was, what I had done to get into this kind of optimism with this side. But yeah, considering that, I always feel that they had hit the rock bottom last year, and it will be only the way will be to go up. Yeah.
Yep, and also, I mean, if Gujarat comes, which means some of their, unknown commodities, those first timers will be doing, will have to play out of their skin. So I'm always up for that. Always rooting for the underdogs, always rooting for the
Yeah.
unknowns. So happy to see that. So yeah, definitely, of course. Sanjay, meanwhile, going on to say maybe both me and RCB is going to come last to one better than last year. Bhai, Sanjay, यार मतलब watch along शुरू तक नहीं हुआ है. शर्म कर ले भाई, शर्म इतना सा शर्म कर ले भाई, क्यों? एंड इतना अच्छा टीम तो बना है यार. ठीक है, छोड़ो, बाद में बात करते हैं आरसीबी. अभी आज तो आरसीबी के बारे में बात नहीं करना. Let's move on to, of course, the next side, which is, of course, winners of the first season, the defending champions, which is, of course, led by the current Team India skipper. It is none other than the Mumbai Indians. Neha, in terms of the options they have on, just look at that. Because of their all-rounders, this depth chart is just decorated with names left, right, and center. Pura bhar diya bhai. Har jagah naam hi naam hai. Bas just look at those names, like everywhere. Like, be it all face bowlers, they've got Haley Matthews, Izzy Wong, Nat Silverbrand, there's Shabnam Ismail, there's Saika Ishaq, and this is just one part. Now, if you look at the kind of batting options they have, Oh man, like I'm already tired, and we're just 10 seconds into Mumbai Indians.
Can we
This is
just finish this show right away, because I just don't think they deserve any kind of further discussion after looking at that chart.
ठीक है खत्म भाई चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं या मुंबई इंडियंस दिस इज द एनालिसिस कि हाँ इनके पास बहुत सारे नाम है चलो टाटा बाय बाय but yeah jokes apart let's come of course let's talk about that side in terms of the names of course then the too many names we will be discussing them one by one let's have a look at the schedule as well before we move further again just like Delhi and Gujarat very balanced schedule they will be playing each of the sides each of the sides once in Bangalore once in Delhi so again you can't really sort of say the schedule is in their favor. But what would help, of course, is the fact that they will be playing 4 of their games in Bangalore because of the kind of lineup they have. Just so many explosive options. Add to the fact that the smaller venues, batter-friendly surface, I see them scoring in excess of 200 in each of those 4 games. Now it's all about, the opposition scoring more than 400. So it's going to be very interesting how they sort of go about their business at a venue like the Chinnaswamy. Now, moving on to, of course, their SWOT. Neha, let's start with their strengths. Huh? Just walk us through this.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of start that you gave to Mumbai Indians, I mean, stellar squad, right? They're winners from last season, had that brilliant campaign last time around. They unearthed some absolute gems. You had international players pitch in. So they look absolutely perfect on paper, kind of, going in all guns blazing to replicate that kind of form from the first season. So again, reflecting on the strengths, of course, they have a strong, playing 11. It kind of picks itself, right? You have Haley Matthews, Nat Silverbrandt, Amelia Kerr, and again, kind of debating if Issy Wong should be there or, should they go for Shabnam Ismail. But again, you just see, right, how these international players are like there. And again, they have backups in the form of like Chloe Tryon and everyone. So in that sense, they have a very strong, like first playing 11. They have good backups as well. And the foreign picks, right? Last season, they just kind of had to build on that. Like Shabnam Ismail for 1.2 crores was brilliant. They knew the other teams needed a player of her strength and stature, yet Mumbai went after it, probably, factoring in how Issy Wong has been woefully out of form for some time. But even just looking at their auction, they had excellent domestic picks in the form of like S. Sajna, you have Amandeep Kaur, Fatima Jafar, and Keertana Balakrishnan, who have just made the waves and they've been super duper impressive, right? So again, I think that you'll have to credit them for unearthing these domestic gems, and the fine mix of like these foreign and domestic players is definitely what sets apart Mumbai Indians. And I think for them definitely there will be pressure coming in this season, right? They've been winners of that inaugural edition, so can they replicate the form? Will the players be able to do the same? From the looks of it and on paper, brilliant side, has the pedigree to kind of do it again. But hopefully we have other teams challenging them, because it always can't be हाँ हम लोग अच्छा खेलेंगे लीग स्टेज में just to lose to Mumbai in the finals. That should not be the trend, that has to start from this season. So yeah, all in all, I think Mumbai does look काफी formidable.
I mean, Shomi, you can't really disagree with that, right? In terms of the kind of players they have, such a well-rounded bowling attack. I mean, we spoke about having variety. They have Amandeep Kaur as well, the only left-arm wrist spinner. They've got someone like an Amelia Kerr. They've got Haley Matthews. Then they've got Saika Ishaq. So that's 3 spin suits covered. Then when it comes to pacers, they've got Nat Silverbrandt. They've got Shabnam Ismail. They've got Issy Wong. They've got Pooja Vasakar. थक गया भाई थोड़ा भी फिर से रेस्ट लेना पड़ेगा बट भाई क्या है मतलब क्या चल रहा है भाई
I think, over and above, as we always speak about, different types of spinning options hai, good pacers hai, which kind of makes them really, really formidable. And then if you just look into the top order, the batting, they have Nat Silverbrandt, they have Haley Matthews. What else could you have asked for? I think the only space where they could have probably improved was, if you look into the weaknesses, there was a point around having a the lower middle order or the lower order who is not as formidable as the top order. So definitely that's a space which can be exploited, considering that in any of the odd cases, if the top order or the middle order somewhere doesn't really fire out, or if they are chasing out a big total, which can be a reality considering the venues. So yeah, I think except for Pooja Vastrakar, I think Issy Wong, Jintamani Kalita, Saika Ishaq, all of these players who might be slotted down in the order, they don't have the best of the batting prowess. Also, considering that they will be probably looking at getting a Shabnam Ismail in space of Issy Wong, that will further kind of elongate out their tail. So I think those are the two things that are coming right off, on the face. But yeah, it's a little sad that considering that EC Wong has been so good for them last year. Also, she's quite a class player. It's just her current form that is so haywire. So yeah, I mean, considering all of that, and also because of the fact that Shabnam Ismail is so good, she will definitely be slotted in.
Sorry. I mean, yeah, in terms of weaknesses and all of that, Neha, again, like that is a fairly fragile, lower order, and that lack of batting that could hurt. But that's the thing, right? The top order is so formidable that breaching that top order itself is a task. हम तो बहुत आसानी से बोल रहे हैं कि भाई अगर टॉप ऑर्डर मतलब if we are able to मतलब get through them तो वही तो दिक्कत है. Like it's and again, what do you make of that? Do you think this is something that can be exploited? Do you think this is something Mumbai would be worried about, or are we just nitpicking here?
See, I think I was just going to bring this point up that, although they have concerns with that finisher slot and that lower middle order not being that strong, it's just that the top order is so strong that, penetrating and actually getting those wickets is going to be really difficult for the opposition bowlers unless, they can cast some magic or something. Because Hayley Matthews, right? She's just been like in the form of her life, and it's extended for the almost a great chunk of 2023. The ICC awards also, speak for themselves. And even with MI in the last season, she was simply brilliant, right? To see. So getting her out is like close to impossible. And Nat Silverbrunt. I mean, if you have a player of her caliber in the team, ab kya hi bole? I mean, all the teams did want her in that inaugural edition. Mumbai is very lucky to get her services. And Amelia Kerr. When you have three solid foreign picks in that batting order, I think they're pretty much sorted. And when you have like a Shabnam Ismail or an Issy Wong coming in that bowling attack, there's literally no room for complaining at all, because they might have very few off days. When you look at their last season, in the league stage, they probably lost just 2 games, right? Where they kind of had those off days. But barring that, they were really good. There was just no areas where you could be like, this didn't work out or that didn't. But again, it kind of puts our lens on how they will rely heavily on these big names to deliver, because although you have those domestic picks and India players, but you will need the international players to set the platform so the others can follow suit. And that is something we really did not get to see last season as well. And I think another point that we even did talk about in our previous lives is Harmanpreet Kaur's form, right? Like that has certainly come under the scanner. Like the moment she can get going and kind of replicate that previous edition form, it will augur well for Mumbai Indians. So it's a lot of these factors that's coming in. But because their batting is so strong and they're playing in conditions like Bangalore to start off, I think they will certainly make the most of it.
I would just like to add a little bit to that. Neha, definitely the fact that there is an over reliance on the international players, but also saying that if you look into the Indian batting lineup, be it Yastika, be it Harman, be it Amanjot, so all of their top order Indian batters, they have all been struggling for form. So that's definitely an opportunity for them to come back to form. But yeah, I mean, is there a like a glaring concern that all of these guys have literally succumbed in the last couple of T20Is that we have played in India, and of course they all have been looking for form. I mean, one player looking for form is okay, but if everybody together is looking out for form, does that come along as a concern for a side?
Neha is still on mute, but I'll just add to that, Soumi. In terms of that, I genuinely think that could be something the opposition could look at, because especially the way their lineup is structured, Yastika opens, so Yastika ka wicket mila. Then there's of course Harman in the middle order, uska wicket mila. So that could be, so they could probably look at targeting one end, but of course this is. But agar hum
and even,
like this is,
Saika, as a matter of fact, they had a good reliance on Saika last year. Saika has also not come along the best in the opportunities that she has got. And we have seen in instances that there are players who really come along really great in one season, and they don't turn out as well in the following months. You guys know how much a fan of Saika Ishaq I am, but at the same time, I think the Indian core of it, which is always the strength of MI and the pride of MI, that is looking a little shaken up this year, considering everybody is not at their best form.
100%. And in fact, I'll just add to that as well. Like Jugal has mentioned, four of the top five wicket takers were from MI last year. And yeah, exactly. And all of them had 15 or more wickets. That's Amelia Kerr, Natskiva Brunt, Haley, Matthew, Saika, Ashak. The odds of all four of them being able to replicate the performance from last year are next to none. Again, that's genuinely a one of a kind performance. You can't have that. And on top of that, they had three players scoring in excess of 250 runs. Again, like unheard of. Matlab, kahan hota hai? Like, so given the kind of season they had last year, and given that sort of allowed them to just have six players batting and bowling, and the rest five were just fielding. Like that's what we'd spoken about even during the India-Australia series. Even Pooja Vastrakar, Pooja, there was Amanjot, there was Jintimani Kalita, and there was another all-rounder, ya to Mehra Kazi या फिर कोई और. चार लोग had absolutely very little to contribute. And you can add Yastika Bhatia as well. Like she did, of course, come up with a couple of very good cameos. That's only because she opens. अगर वो भी कहीं मिड ऑर्डर में उनको खेलना पड़ता है तो हेली नाच के बाद तो अपने आप से मैच खत्म करके चले भी जाते. So
or to add to sorry.
No, बताइए.
Yeah, and to add to all of that, the excuse that we always bring up, I mean, I know that's an excuse that we talk about, always say as an RCB fan, everything was in Mumbai. So, I mean.
Of course, I'd completely forgotten that. But that's which is why the thing is, last year and in all fairness, even this year, I personally think it's a very, I don't know if lopsided is the right way of putting it, but they've got, the thing is that overseas talent is so good, it allows them to sort of play around with their domestic talent. And they really, I wouldn't say lucked out, they were really fortunate that Saika Ashak went on to have the kind of season she did. You don't see that often. In all fairness, Harman did have that fantastic knock in the opener, but barring that, I don't think she had anything of note in the tournament. Yeah, it was fairly middling. I wouldn't say she was woefully out of form, but it was middling at best. Now, this year, will she be able to afford to have a season like that? Will Saika be able to replicate her season from last year? Izzy Wong has been out of form. We will speak about that as well going forward. So there are a lot of contingencies, so to say. And yeah, I can hope against hope was Mumbai will not have the kind of season they did last year. Which of course reminds me, since we have been speaking about a couple of points they will have to look at, let's also look at some of the opportunities that Mumbai will be looking to cash on. Not milk, cash this time. There's of course Harmanpreet's captaincy. There's plenty of untested prospects, and of course favorable scheduling. The reason why we've mentioned favorable scheduling, like we discussed during the schedule bit, was because 4 of these games will happen in Bangalore, which is as close to a surface as you'd get, to Wankhede. So given that, this would definitely favor the batting lineup, and like we were discussing, we've got an explosive batting lineup. Add to the small venue, add to that, it's a smaller venue, it's a batter-friendly surface. So all of these things considered, you would imagine that Mumbai would love batting here, especially their informed batters. So that's why it's definitely in their favor to play 4 games in Bangalore. Now talking about Harmanpreet's captaincy, so yeah, I'll sort of open the floor to Neha. Let's start with her. What do you think? Is that an opportunity? Could that potentially be a threat as well?
So yeah, I mean, when we look at Harmanpreet Kaur's captaincy, it did come under the scanner during that England and Australia series, right? Because although we won the test matches, limited overs, we did not come up with the kind of performances we did want to see. Her strategies have been questionable at times, but with Mumbai Indians, the biggest advantage for her is the kind of resources she has, right? The overseas players literally pick themselves, they will perform, and there isn't a lot to do here. She just has to focus on getting a few things right here and there. So it doesn't really come under the scanner. But because her captaincy has been under fire in the India circuit, if she can win another Women's Premier League title, I think that's going to again take her street credit to a great extent, and kind of quieten and silence all the critics that's like, hey, she's not a great India skipper. I mean, recency bias will play a big effect there, and it would kind of salvage her India skipper position. And we do have important assignments in Asia Cup and the T20 World Cup that beckons. It still won't address the problem, but I think for Harmanpreet Kaur to kind of understand the domestic players better, because at the end of the day, she's India skipper, and unearthing talent through this setup will also be important from a broader context and the larger POV for India, right? So I think she will look to understand her players better. But I think from a captaincy POV, there wouldn't be a lot to do, because you have such great players already in the setup. You have a think tank that's in place. But it will still be interesting to see how Mumbai can get across the line again. And yeah, as Jugal rightly says, I think Charlotte Edwards being in that setup is a big, big bonus. There's also Julan Goswami, right, who has played with Harmanpreet Kaur, has mentored her through those emerging days and everything. So in that sense, I wouldn't say it'll be a test of Harmanpreet Kaur's captaincy, but just let's see if she can kind of replicate that 2023 form.
100%. And Shomi, you had something to add to that?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I add here is that, I mean, last year Mumbai was in great form. Of course, they have great players, so the captain's job becomes a lot more easier. Except for the fact that managing the great players is a task in itself. But considering that, there's Julan Goswami, there are pretty remarkable names out there. It's not only on the captain's shoulders. Well, I would want to see if at all things don't go great, or things don't go Mumbai's way early on in the tournament. How does Harmanpreet Kaur lead the team in such a scenario? And she has not been the best when it comes to, pressure handling as a captain. And we have seen that time and again across tournaments, how her anger has flared up, how she has been emotional and reactive. So how does that span out in this particular case if things don't go Mumbai's way? Because that will be the real test of it. Things are going absolutely hunky-dory as it had been last year. There was hardly any challenges. Things were going very smooth with the best of the squad that you have under the belt. I mean, anybody will be a good captain under such a scenario. So yeah, I mean, it's important for us to see if what happens when things go wrong.
It's not the first time we're hearing something like this of a Mumbai Indian skipper, about a Mumbai Indian skipper, that is. Anyways, let's not talk about that. We'll save that for another day. But Jugal goes on to say none of the games were held at the Wankhede. Yeah, agreed. But DY Patil and Brabon are no less batter-friendly surfaces themselves, my friend. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि DY Patil और Brabon में bowlers एकदम मजे कर रहे हैं वहाँ पे, मतलब विकेट पे विकेट ले रहे हैं. वहाँ पे भी runs ही बन रहे थे, if you remember. And of course, he also goes on to say कि Harman was the highest Indian run getter last year. That does not really count for much, but fair point. Again, we're not saying that she had a bad season, but even then, post that, the Bangladesh tour, of course, she didn't play much of the Asian games, the England tour, the Australia tour, there have been, we've not exactly seen the Herman of old, to say the least. So given that, it'll be very interesting to see how she'll sort of, go about her business. So Tushar Singh goes on to say, I'm looking forward to seeing who will she throw under the bus this year. God forbid things don't go her way. Again, मैंने नहीं कहा भाई Tushar Singh, I hope आपका DP आपका नहीं है कुछ और ही है, but it'll be very interesting to see how that happens. Agreed, 150, and then there was we know, but please, okay. The thing is, if I start arguing, people might think I don't like Herman, so I'll just agreed. हरमन ने मारा, हरमन हाईएस्ट रन गेटर थी यार. आप थोड़ा स्ट्राइक रेट एवरेज वो भी देख लीजिएगा. एक 50 मारा था, मैंने माना फर्स्ट T20 में मारा था, पता है. बट all things said and done, I don't think that's good enough to say कि Herman is in form. But ठीक है, you do you. Fair point. We're not going to sort of agree to disagree. Let's just put it that way.
She was always in form. I mean, it was neither a bad ball.
याद है कि कितना अच्छा खेला था उन्होंने यार. 171 याद रखो यार. Anyways, Gaurav Nandan Tripathi, of course, a colleague of ours, he goes on to say there's also Devshika Palshikar and Kiran More with them. Agreed. Strong support staffs. That it's almost like a characteristic of Mumbai Indian setup to have a very strong support staff, to have a very strong think tank. So we cannot agree with you more there, Gaurav. In terms of the Mumbai Indian setup, though, of course, there are also threats. Let's look at some of the threats that could potentially plague their season. There's, of course, a problem of plenty. There's injury concerns. There's, of course, the reliance on big names. Problem of plenty primarily because of the dilemma they'll have to, they'll have to sort of think about, which is Izzy Wong or Shabnam Ismail. We will be talking about it when we bring in our playing 11s. I know Gaurav had asked us, a couple of others had also asked, who would be playing. We will talk about our playing 11s and who features in our respective 11s. There's, of course, injury concerns. And again, that may not be that big an issue, but there is Izzy Wong. Of course, I wouldn't technically call it injury, but we know that she's been out of form. She's not played a lot of cricket. She had some back issues. There's Pooja Vastrikar, who's coming back from injury. She of course played the Australia series entirely, but we're not sure if she's completely fit because we did see her batting lower down the order, and it'll be very interesting to see how Herman uses her. Like Jugal or someone mentioned earlier, we really hope that Herman uses her better this time around. And speaking of course, the last point, which was the over-reliance on big names, we saw that last year. It was a 6-woman team. And I'd be disappointed if it turns out to be the case and they end up winning a title again, because these are the hypocrites I get really pissed off with. अगर आरसीबी ऐसे लाइनअप के साथ फाइनल्स पहुंचा है, हाँ ये तो होना ही था, फाइनल्स में तो हारना ही था, इनके पास टीम कहाँ थी यार, ये तो मतलब 5-6 खिलाड़ियों के साथ खेले थे, मुंबई कर ले मास्टर स्ट्रोक यार, मतलब क्या भाई क्या कर दिया, 6 लोगों की टीम के साथ जीत गए, विच इज बाय बस मतलब जो भी है जस्ट बी कंसिस्टेंट. अगर आपको लगता है 6 लोगों की टीम के साथ टूर्नामेंट जीता जा सकता है, स्टिक टू इट बस. और अगर आपको लगता है कि नहीं जीता जा सकता, then stick to that. You cannot possibly sort of, just go with the flow and go whichever. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'll save that rant for another time. But what do you make of that, Soumi, in terms of their reliance? Like we mentioned, 6 players did all the work, did all the dirty work for them last year. Do you think that would be possible? I mean, they can win a title with a similar performance this year as well.
I think it's unfair to say that if you have 6 players in form and they are doing it consistently, you cannot win a tournament. Probably yes, that there's a good possibility, but considering that all the most of them who have come good last time will again come good this time, as you spoke before, that the chances are pretty much absolutely none. So that's where I think that Mumbai Indians really need to strike a balance and figure out if who are your next set of best people that you can rely upon, and then accordingly look at those as their strengthening spaces.
What about you, Neha? Like, agree with this in terms of the kind of 11 they will potentially field, which will be similar to their last year's 11. Do you think this over-reliance is something that they should worry about, or do you think it's still possible for them to do an encore?
I think it will be kind of unrealistic for us to expect that they will be able to have the same players perform again. But again, these are international names, right? So we can have that sort of an expectation that if not replicate entirely, but they can still come to the fore and deliver. But I think for Mumbai this season, it will be important to see how their domestic players kind of perform. If they actually get a go. And even Saika Ishak, right? Like, she was able to make her India debut on the back of this brilliant Women's Premier League performance. We've seen her play well in the domestic circuit as well. So yeah, just hoping things work out well for her. But even for this playing 11, right now it looks formidable and quite solid. They do have problems of plenty, but again, these are good problems to have rather than not have enough players like Gujarat Giants and being able to make the most of the resources. So in that sense, I think Mumbai still looks like a solid unit, and let's see how the season kind of progresses for them.
Yeah, it's definitely a happy problem of plenty for them. By no means would they be complaining about that. And Apocalypse, completely agree with you that at no point in time did we say Mandana is in great form. And Harman not being in form has nothing to do with Mandana being or not being in form. Happy to agree with you that both of them have been out of form. I mean, both of them have not done enough to say they are in form. I'll put it that way. We can't say they're out of form, but they're definitely not in form. You don't have to worry. I'm more than happy to say that. So yeah, I hope that's clear there. Tiger Rose, meanwhile, says, Akshay, what happened with Heather Knight? Like, Match Giver is not going. It's a big blow for RCB. We'll save that chat for tomorrow when we do discuss RCB, of course. It's definitely a huge blow. Add to that, Kanika Ahuja is also going to miss out. But yeah, we'll save that for tomorrow. Meanwhile, Jugal says, Jinti had a better senior women's T20 trophy compared to Kashvi and Titas. Just because the domestic players weren't used doesn't mean they're not good. But that's not the point, right, Jugal? The point is they aren't being used. So Jinti being good does not really matter if she's not going to bowl or if she's not going to bat. Last year, that was I wouldn't say problem last time, that was the case. The top order was in such good form that they did not really have to use them. And achanak se agar kahin unko khelna pad gaya na, and we've seen this with the Indian side. We saw what happened in World Cup, in the recent World Cup. Sky didn't have to play at all, and we thought, "Arey bhai, kya 11 bana diya?" Come the finals, come the crunch situation. Again, I wouldn't blame it. I wouldn't put it against Sky. Bhai ne khela hi nahi yaar. अचानक से ऐसे मतलब थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट ट्रैक में खिला रहे हो अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया, it won't be easy. So the same would be the case with Mumbai Indians, given that they've, like, Kalita hasn't played cricket at the top level. If you look at it, she's fielded at the top level, she's not played, she's not batted or bowled. So it'll be very interesting to see, and completely agree with you though, she's definitely had a very good domestic season, and we can we genuinely hope that she goes on to have a really good season In fact, Neha, of course, would also remember how thrilled Jhulan was when she got Sajana, when she got Kirtana Balakrishnan. So I'm looking forward to seeing, if they actually get some game time, if she really I mean, if they really are, as good or as raw gems as raw gem as, Jhulan has made them out to be. Meanwhile, Sanjay also adds that won't be surprised if Amandeep Kaur starts ahead of Saika, considering how she tapered off at the end of the last season. That's actually a very valid point because from what I remember, she had 14 wickets in her first 4 games. She added only 2 to her tally in the next 6 games. So again, so that's definitely something to watch out for. And given that, she again did not have the greatest of starts to her international career, she of course did have that faux against England in the 30-20, but barring that, there's not much to write home about. Neha, that's a fair point about Saika.
Yes, because I think we'll have to again look at her performance in two phases, right? Like at the start of the season in the league phase, she was brilliant. None of the batters were able to read her. She, ran away with like 15 wickets or so. But then somewhere her performance kind of just, tapered off, which was not really working out well for Mumbai, who were kind of, depending on her to perform. And that's when we did see a lot of lapses in their bowling. So I think this season will again prove to be an acid test for her to see, if she can kind of come off from that not so great India debut, bombing the benches and everything, to actually performing really well, because we've seen her, right, play for East Zone, we've seen her play for West Bengal, has been a great spinner. I mean, again, we use domestic cricket as such a big parameter for success because they don't play a lot of cricket, and this becomes our only sample to, kind of refer and make inferences from. So in that sense, I think for her to carry on that form throughout the league will be quite pertinent, and just raring to see her go. Yeah.
100%, and I'll again have to flex. Yesterday, had the privilege of being able to talk to Gohar Sultana about it. So we were talking to her since she's sort of seen Saika grow and sort of become the player that she is, and she did speak a great deal about Saika and the kind of career she's had. There were a couple of troughs as well. It wasn't always just going above. I mean, it wasn't always just going hunky dory for her. She had a couple of personal setbacks as well, and how she sort of came out of that. So yeah, I mean, look forward to that interview. Akash had taken that, so looking forward to it. Let's see when that comes out. And we are sort of coming close to the ending stages of our preview. Meanwhile, Tiger Rose asks us, Akshay, your thoughts on Queendom, WPL opening ceremony, Tiger Shroff, Karthik Aryan, Siddharth Malhotra. Pretty good enjoyment. Just 3 words, couldn't care lesser. आप दोनों को कुछ add करना है? Like, is there anything, or happy with that and we can just move on? I don't think any of us, what we do care about is what happens after that half an hour, after that 30 minutes of performances. एक तो मेरे को समझ नहीं आता क्यों होता है, but ठीक है, अगर होता है, जिनको भी अच्छा लगता है कर लो भाई. Meanwhile, Jugal also makes a valid point. She was the highest wicket taker at the Senior Women's T20 Trophy. Agreed. That is a valid point, but that was 4 months ago. उसके बाद इंग्लैंड का दौरा हुआ, उसके बाद ऑस्ट्रेलिया का भी, दौरा नहीं, उसके बाद इंग्लैंड का सीरीज हुआ, उसके बाद ऑस्ट्रेलिया का भी सीरीज हुआ, and we saw how she performed. In fact, she was dropped for Mannat Kashyap. So we have to see, and again, we're not sort of jumping to conclusions here. We're just sort of, like we said, we like to have a balanced, argument. We like to sort of add all nuances. So this is basically us just trying to play devil's advocate and seeing, what are the potential threats. We cannot just say कि हाँ मुंबई का side बढ़िया, like we sort of started off. ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता ना कि 2 मिनट में हाँ मुंबई का साइड तो बहुत बढ़िया, खत्म बात, चलो टाटा बाय बाय. We have to put all the points out there so that we know what we can expect, of course. Meanwhile, of course, guys, please do make sure you're hitting the like button. We want to hit the 40 like mark before the end of the live stream, so please do make sure that this is happening, and these are the exact words of a producer sahab. So like karo bhai, please do make sure you're hitting the like button. Gaurav says, Akshay, you don't need eye candy. Ab Tiger high aayenge to dunya dekhegi hi. Arey bhai, I'll just no comments. I won't dignify that argument with a comment. I'll put it that way. Let's move on to our playing 11s. Of course, I have a feeling that there'll only be one bone of contention. Baki sab to same hi lag raha hai. Let's have it on. There we go. Soumi, let's start with you, with your 11. Tell us why you've picked the players you've picked, and Baki chodo bhai, Shabnam Ismail over Rizzi Wong. Just let us know why that.
I think it's just, pretty obvious, right? Haley Matthews has been very destructive. Yastika Bhatia is their wicket-keeping option, who's an opener and does have been doing that job pretty well. Nat Cyberbrandt, I think there's no point even getting into that, as well as Amelia Kerr. Pooja Bastrakar, of course, the great bowling option along with the power hitting. Amanjot Kaur has been great for them last year, so definitely she makes it to the side this year. Jintimani Kalita, we all have been really talking about her for quite some time now, and that's why she makes a space in my 11. Shabnaim Ismail versus EC Wong is again because of the fact that because of the fact of the form, and Saika Ishak, of course, because she has been one of the best last year. So yeah, I mean, this has been a standard way of looking at it, but yeah, over and above, as we spoke, we will hope all of them come to the playoff things. But yeah, it has to be kind of a repeat performance from last year.
Fair enough. And Neha, you have just one change. Let's talk about that change. You've gone ahead with Izzy Wong, who was one of the highest wicket takers last year. Why?
I mean, for me, the choice is quite obvious. Like, I know Shabnim Ismail does come in with a lot of confidence, but again, she's retired, right, from international cricket. So somewhere I felt that she will be lacking that game practice, and the Women's Premier League is no short of, like, international cricket and the kind of players you're rubbing shoulders against. Now, when it comes to Issy Wong, I know there is, she has been woefully out of form, coming under a lot of criticism and everything. But I think it is at, points like this and moments like this where you really need to support a player who's, like, going through it. So giving her that go ahead, at least in the first couple of games, considering, she's had such a great season last time around, will be, the way to go, and something that the team management can really help, kind of boost her morale and confidence. She has been instrumental. So I think giving her the go-ahead will be a good move from the Mumbai Indians think tank, at least for a couple of games, before they decide, hey, okay, this is not working out, and they have an option in Shabnim as well. But trusting your player in their highs and lows is how, things should operate. And this will be interesting to see how, if the think tank actually aligns with this, line of thinking, or will they go with the more obvious choice of, getting Shabnim as well in.
Fair enough. And meanwhile, I stuck to Shabnam Ismail, of course, and ahead of Izzy Wong. And my reasons are simple. She had a phenomenal season last year, and under ideal conditions or under normal conditions, you would sort of see Izzy Wong starting again. But she's played not a lot of cricket, to sort of put it simply, after the WPL. She played the series against England, where she played just a couple of T20s, and from what I remember, there was that one game where she bowled the first over that had two over the waist snowballs. She went for plenty of runs. She only played 5 games in the 100 as well. In fact, when she was dropped from the India squad, John Lewis himself had gone on to say that, boss, she's facing a bit of issues with her rhythm, with her run-up. She also has some issues. I don't know if it was back issues. I'm not sure if it was any health-related issues, but he did mention a lack of rhythm, and he wants her to take some time off cricket to sort of, get back into that rhythm and all of that, which is why I'm not sure where she's at right now. And given that they have someone like Shabnam Ismail, in their bench, I'd be very surprised if they don't start with her, and eventually if they feel Izzy is sort of ready to is sort of match fit, then they might get her, because Izzy of course offers value with the bat as well, so that all-round option is something they always look for. But I would imagine they'll start with Shabnam and then see and take a call on, if they want to replace Izzy with her. But yeah, that's basically my thinking. And the rest of the 11 picks itself, Amandeep Kaur, a couple of them did mention, even I'll be sort of keeping a key eye on her. Wouldn't be surprised if they decide to sort of replace one of Jinti or, Humaira Kazi with and Amandeep Kaur, or like Sanjay mentioned, even replace Saika Ishak if she goes on to have a mediocre tournament or a mediocre start to the tournament. You never know. Amandeep Kaur coming in place of her is also something, is also a reality we should sort of make peace with. So yeah, that'll be very interesting to watch. Let's take a couple of comments before we wrap this up. Love the show, Neha, Soumi, and Akshay. Such high energy vibes from Akshay and Soumi. And meanwhile, Neha is the calm, composed head in the room. Maza aa gaya, dosto. Thank you so much, Gaurav. It means a great deal. Thank you so much for all of you as well for tuning in. It's been a couple of hours. Something even I don't think any of us thought कि इतना in depth हम लोग बात कर पाएंगे. But happy to know कि काफी सारी चीजें हैं बात करने के लिए, which clearly shows कि boss, अगर हमें cricket के में बात करने के लिए छोड़ दो तो हम बात करते रहेंगे. But yeah, it is time for us as well to wrap up. It's been a good couple of hours. We've discussed in detail about the Delhi Capitals, about the Gujarat Giants and the Mumbai Indians. We'll of course be talking about the Royal Challengers Bangalore and the UP Warriors tomorrow at 8 p.m. sharp. So all of you, please mark your calendars. Make sure you've hit the like button right now and make sure you tune in tomorrow at 8 o'clock as well. It's been great bringing this. Neha, show me any last words for both of you.
I mean, I'd say, yeah. Go on, Soumi. Yeah.
Both of you are right. But my producer, just in time, just in the nick of time, reminds me कि भाई predictions बचा है. Thank God, Neha. Let's start with you.
दिखाओ, मैंने तो पता नहीं क्या मतलब क्या सोच के predictions किया था उस टाइम पे.
Let's start with Soumi. Let's see what Soumi. ये तो ठीक है. चलो, Mumbai Indians finishing first.
उल्टा है मेरा prediction नहीं, उल्टा लग रहा है मुझे. Like I must have done it on a reverse order.
So you're saying you're saying you wanted Mumbai at 5?
No, actually, see, what will happen is what I want is actually I want Mumbai to be there और फिर final में जाकर ना हराएंगे. मतलब मजा क्या आएगा सोचो. ठीक है.
आप मुझे नहीं लगता आप 15 साल से आरसीबी को सपोर्ट कर रहे हो, इसीलिए आप ऐसा कह रहे हो. नहीं, इतना नहीं है, इतना खतरों की खिलाड़ी नहीं बनना है मेरे को.
Anything, I mean, we are neutral, but still, like not lovers of.
नहीं. When it comes to RCB, people know कि भाई मेरे को तो it'll be some India Pakistan game and people will be like यार Akshay is to RCB. मैं कहा यार India Pakistan का game है यार, इसमें कहाँ मुझे फंसा रहे हो. But it is what it is. And interesting, Soumi has said Mumbai will be finishing.
Yeah.
Sorry?
This is a league stage, yes.
Yep. This is basically the predictions you're making is where will all these teams finish at the end of the league stage, because playoffs is a whole different ball game. We don't know. On that day, anyone can come good. So that's why we don't want to sort of, try and break our heads over predicting that. At the end of the league stage, Soumi has said that Mumbai Indians will finish first. What does Neha have to say? And Neha, of course, also goes on to say that Mumbai Indians will be finishing first and will be walking straight into the second consecutive final. Whew. That's basically both of you saying that they will one up their performance from last year, because last year they finished second. So interesting. Of course, I'm no different. I've also gone on to say that they will finish first. But in all fairness, this is not even peer pressure. This is just audience pressure. मेरे को पता है अगर मैं मुंबई इंडियंस को 4th या 5th डाल दिया तो मुझे मार देंगे यहाँ पे. तो playing safe, first में डालो, end में 5th भी आ गए तो मैं हंस सकता हूँ. लेकिन अगर मैंने 5th डाला और वो first आ गया तो भाई नहीं. इतना तो मैं सह नहीं पाऊंगा. So I have predicted Mumbai to finish first. They will be reaching their finals. They'll be reaching the finals straight away without having to play the playoff. Delhi will be second. It'll be interesting to see who'll be third. It'll be interesting to see who'll be fourth. So a lot of interesting points to talk about. We'll of course be predicting our highest run scorer, highest wicket taker, and the MVP for the tournament tomorrow. So make sure you tune in at 8 p.m. sharp tomorrow, guys. Royal Challengers Bangalore, not Mumbai Indians, UP Warriors, and of course a lot of other fun predictions. Until then, it's a goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been great bringing all of this to you guys. I'm just searching for my end screen and I realized there is no end screen. So we will have to end this straight away. Goodbye to all of you. Good night and bye-bye.